enjoy the day. It's Game 3 of the National League Division Series presented by Tucson on FS1. The neutral site is Minute Maid Park, where Travis d'Arnaud has homered twice in the first 2 games of this series to help the Atlanta Braves pick up a 2-0 series lead on the Miami Marlins, who become the home team on this neutral site field in Game 3. Welcome into the broadcast booth, Adam Amin with a couple of World Series champions, A.J. Pierzynski and Adam Wainwright. Waino, let's start with the Miami Marlins. What a spot to be in, and you've been in a spot like this before. Backs up against the wall, playoff series, got to play stopper. That is the task for Sixto Sanchez today.
Yeah, Sixto's got a big challenge ahead of him. He's 22 years old. This is his 9th ever start in the big leagues. He's only had 1 playoff start, but he did great against the Cubs the other day. He came out featuring a fastball, 100 miles an hour, a nasty changeup, breaking ball. He's got his back against the wall. The whole team's got the back against the wall. The whole nation is expecting them to lose today, and so they're going to play up that. I think they're going to go out there and play a great ball game. I look forward to him having great stuff and going out and competing really well today.
Yeah, the guys talked about it, embracing that bottom feeder mentality. So that's a big pitcher that Miami has on the bump today. On the other side, a very young pitcher for Atlanta. The Braves have 3 postseason shutouts in their first 4 games. It's a rarity to see that, and their offense has really stepped up. Not just the first 3 in the lineup, AJ, but the middle of the order.
Well, the Braves are up 2-0 right now. Freddie Freeman hasn't got a hit yet. Why? Because Dansby Swanson and Travis d'Arnaud have been on fire. They've both homered the first 2 games of this series. Both have hit big home runs. Swanson last night gave him the lead. The first game, d'Arnaud gave him the lead with home runs. These guys are hitting everything. They're hitting hard fastballs. They're hitting off speed out over the plate. And these 2 guys, hitting 4th and 6th in the lineup, have been the key to the Braves scoring runs in these first 2. And let's not forget, Travis d'Arnaud caught 3 shutouts in the first 4 playoff games. He has been the best player on the field so far for the Atlanta Braves.
The Braves try to make their first National League Championship Series since 2001. They look for the sweep against the Miami Marlins today here in Game 3 of the National League Division Series from Houston, Texas. 88% of the time, the team that goes up 2-0 in a best-of-5 series goes on to win it. Marlins with the backs up against the wall. The Braves looking for the sweep and a spot in the NLCS. First pitch coming up next. Been a great postseason so far. We're in the thick of the National League Division Series, getting us set for Game 3. The youth movement on the bump continues. For more, we go down to the field in Tom Bertucci.
Well, thanks, Adam. For a 3rd straight game, the Braves hand the ball to a starter who was a top 10 draft pick. Kyle Wright is 25 years old and was the 5th overall pick in 2017 out of Vanderbilt, where he was supposed to be joined by a recruit from upstate New York. Instead, Ian Anderson has joined him in the Braves rotation, now 1 win away from the NLCS. You know, guys, usually this time of year we talk about innings limits for young pitchers. Not in this short season. All 6 starters in this series, 26 and younger, and the youngest of them all is on the mound right now for the Miami Marlins.
That is Sixto Sanchez. As you get a look at Kyle Wright, who'll get ready for the bottom of the first. Sixto at 3-2 in 7 starts this year, 33 strikeouts in 39 innings of work, but picked up at 22 years of age this year from the Dominican Republic. He was signed 5 years ago by the Philadelphia Phillies and now makes the biggest start of his life again in Game 3, down 2-0 in this series. And he'll have to do it against one of the most explosive offenses in all of baseball for Brian Snitker. 3 straight National League Eastern Division titles in his 5th year. An organizational guy who has known so many of these players on their way up in this organization, and this offense, which was 2nd in the National League in runs and homers, has been very sharp thus far. Just 2 runs yesterday from solo homers from d'Arnaud and Swanson. AJ mentioned it, Freddie Freeman doesn't have a hit in this series yet. They are up 2-0. Ronald Acuna Jr. will lead things off for the Atlanta Braves. This will be the third time that Sixto Sanchez faces the Atlanta Braves. He only faced two teams a second time this year in his 7 starts. It was the Nationals and the Braves. And both times the second time around, it felt like the familiarity was a little bit of a problem for Sixto.
Yeah, I think anytime you're a pitcher and you're facing a lineup more than once, especially a couple times in close proximity, you know, that gives a little bit more of an advantage to the hitter. You're still going to have to hit a round ball with a round bat and find a hole, and that's always going to favor the pitcher. But the more looks that the hitters get, the more timing they can feel out and everything else, I think that just adds a little bit of advantage to the hitter.
Well, the Braves are a great fastball hitting team, and Sixto has a really great fastball, 100-mile-an-hour plus. But watch for the Braves to be super aggressive early on Sixto. When he gets hit early. Why is that? Because they can cheat for that 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and the Braves do it better than anybody.
One thing, no home runs allowed by Sanchez against this Braves lineup. Acuna goes after the first pitch and sends it to center field for Magneuris Sierra. 1 pitch, 1 out. A.J. Wright on cue. So Sixto gets the first out of the day on Acuna, and this is the defense that is behind him. No Starling Marte, so Sierra gets the start again, flanked by Dickerson and John Birdie today, who made 7 starts in right field during the regular season. Anderson, Rojas, Jazz Chisholm in his playoff debut is at second. Aguilar gets the start for the first time in the series at first base. And again, it's Wallach behind the plate doing the catching. Here's Freddie Freeman seeking his first hit of the series. And he takes a strike. 1 for 14 in the postseason so far. And he hits it into the shift. Easy play for Rojas, and it's 2 up and 2 down on just 3 pitches for Sixto Sanchez. Beg your pardon, that was Anderson on the plate.
And right away, as a pitcher, you're noticing, and even after yesterday's game, when they weren't waiting on any fastballs in the strike zone.
Yep.
Right away, you've seen 3 pitches. You got 2 outs already. These guys are coming to swing the bats, so you can work that to your favor. You can get a lot of quick outs if you make good pitches.
So 2 up and 2 down for Marcell Ozuna. Shift on the left side against the right-handed hitting Ozuna, something the Marlins do a lot. Ozuna cranks one to deep center field. Sierra ranging back towards the wall at the track. He's got it. A 5-pitch 1-2-3. Sixto Sanchez first inning. Impressive from the 22-year-old. Miami coming up. Marlins batting order for Don Mattingly looks a little bit different today, but it's had John Birdie at the line up at the top plenty this year. Dickerson back to the 2 spot. Aguilar into the 3 spot. Again, the big note today is Jazz Chisholm. He'll get the start. Matt Joyce goes back to the bench, and that moves Birdie into the outfield with Chisholm making his playoff debut. All against another man making his playoff debut. Kyle Wright, the 25-year-old from Alabama, got roughed up in his 2 starts against the Miami Marlins this year. First offering to Birdie is in there for a strike.
That adds a little extra incentive for him on the mound,
sure.
too. You know, he's going to look to prove a lot of people wrong today. Not a lot of success against them, but he's going to play that as a chip on his shoulder to go out there and prove that he can do it.
Look for him. He needs his slider to be good, Waino, today. He's kind of developed into his main secondary pitch. Not as hard of a thrower, Sixto, but still an above-average fastball.
And he's ahead of the count on Birdie, 1-2. Kyle Wright from Huntsville, Alabama. Sinker slider guy with, as AJ mentioned, that changeup and a good fastball. First start since September the 25th. And he starts it off with a strikeout of Birdie, 1 away here in the first. Here's the defense for the Atlanta Braves behind the young Kyle Wright. Acuna in center, flanked by Duvall and Markakis, who had a very heads-up outfield assist for a force out yesterday in a key late-inning moment. Riley, Swanson, Albies, and Freeman. And again, it's d'Arnaud and Wright, the battery today for Game 3. It's been the same lineup the entirety of the series. Gold Glover and Freddie Freeman manning first base. Gold Glover, Nick Markakis, and Wright. Here's Corey Dickerson, seeking his first hit of the NLDS.
We showed those numbers of Wright, his last 3 starts, 2-0. He's made a little bit of an adjustment with his repertoire. He's throwing more high fastballs. We saw it early to Birdie. We saw one that got away to Dickerson, but he's been really good first time through the order. But he's been really bad with a lot of rest. We already mentioned the layoff since his last start. So if he can establish that fastball up, that opens up his slider and his curveball down to these Marlin hitters.
Corey Dickerson's a guy too. You can really expand the strike zone against him. He's looking to swing all the time.
Swings there and fouls it back, and it's 1-2. His lone hit in the postseason was that huge 3-run Game 1 home run in the wild card series off Kyle Hendricks against the Cubs.
He's kind of like a, I'm sure I'm going to get worn out for this one too, but he's got a little Vlad Guerrero in him. You know, that he can go below the strike zone and above the strike zone and hit anything, but you can also exploit that.
1-2 is just off the corner. I'll really lean into it if he swings at a pitch that bounces and he makes contact. Then I will really lean into that analogy.
He's got that ability. There's been several times he's hit balls on me where Yachty goes down to block a ball and he hits it in the gap.
There's a 2-2. Goes the other way and drops it down for his first hit of the series. Dickerson aboard here in the first.
Nice piece of hitting here by Dickerson. Fastball out over the plate, trying to go above. Doesn't throw it high enough. Hits the glove pretty much right where Darno wanted it. Dickerson just uses his hand, slaps it to left field for his first hit of the series.
You almost can't throw it high enough and low enough for him.
Okay.
You know, he like that right there, that's letter high. But if you threw it chin high, he still would have probably gone after it.
Man after my own heart, Wayno. As you know, I swung at everything.
Here's Jesus Aguilar. He'll take a strike to start. Here's the location of that last Dickerson hit.
And he got on top of that ball. I mean, he had a line drive to left. Most people are popping that one straight up.
Yep. Big hole on the right side for Aguilar. Good pull hitter. That's why they've shifted with the double play on. Middle infield a little bit towards the bag, but the shortstop Swanson still playing a little bit closer to second.
Bad year last year, but Aguilar 2 years ago was in the MVP race for about 3/4 of that season.
Fouls one back, and it's 1-2. This is what Aguilar has done. Kind of a tough finish to his time with the Milwaukee Brewers. Improved with Tampa Bay at times last year and has really found a great spot in Miami. He said it's a great place for me to get my confidence back, and he produced in a big way this year in a shortened season. There's a 1-2 on the ground, back up the middle into center. Back-to-back base hits. Dickerson will hold up at second.
When you're up next to Jose Aguilar, it's really hard to put into words how big this guy is.
Yeah.
His legs are humongous. You know, like his legs, each one has got to weigh 100 pounds. I mean, the guy is just a big, strong man for sure.
That's a really good swing on it. Wright's trying to sink him down and in. He just drops the barrel inside, hits it up the middle. I actually thought Dickerson might try go first and third there to get the Marlins a lead in the first inning. Acuna charged the ball so hard though and stopped him. And it's a big spot right here. The Marlins have got to cash in.
And it'll be Brian Anderson in the cleanup spot, who's had a good series at the plate.
I like what you said right there too, AJ, about the good hard steps that Acuna took in right there, because if there's a lot of young outfielders watching this, you can shut a runner down going first to third with your initial steps towards the ball. If you come in attacking the ball right away, that runner sees that and he doesn't try to go first to third.
Wright comes home with an 0-1 and another big sweeping breaking ball for a strike.
2 good sliders from Wright to start this at bat off to Anderson. After giving up a couple hits on heaters, runners in scoring position, he runs to the slider, and 2 really good ones to get ahead 0-2.
Would love to find that sinker right now, see if he can get a double play ball on Anderson, who is a very good, one of the best, in fact, clutch hitters in baseball. Here's the 0-2. Would not chase. 27 years old from Oklahoma, AJ.
Another big pitch for Wright. He started throwing right-on-right changeups. We saw Sandy Alcantara do it the first game and get some big strikeouts, but Wright has also started doing that, so don't be surprised. You don't see it that often, but don't be surprised in situations you see him throw right-on-right changeups.
Ahead of Anderson, 1-2. Hammers one down the left field line, deep, but that is going to head foul. 11 home runs during the regular season for Brian Anderson. He's really sprayed the ball in this series. He's 4 for 6 in the NLDS, and he's used all the fields.
I think if you asked some of the staff with those Marlins guys, they'd tell you he's probably their best pure hitter, right? I mean, he can really work a count. He can drive a ball. He can do a lot of things up there offensively.
There's a 1-2. Went back to that slider, and Anderson lays off.
Wayno, when you see a guy, so Anderson, he throws him 2 really good sliders to get ahead 0-2. Next one he yanks down and away. Then he tries to throw him a sinker in. He hits it 500 feet foul. In your pitcher's mind, you see him yank another slider right there. Do you come back and try to throw a better slider? Is that why you yank it?
Yeah, I think, you know, there was nothing wrong with those first 2, but sometimes as a pitcher, you're on the mound, you go, watch how much better I can make this one.
2-2.
See what I'm saying?
Yep.
You don't need to do more than what works. You know, you swing and miss a couple. There's no reason to try to make it nastier. Sometimes that ends up being the one you hang all over the plate.
That definitely isn't a hanger. That's a good slider. His slider is small, though. It doesn't really go with our graphic. It's more side to side. It doesn't drop as much as a standard slider. It's almost a cutter slash slider. It's not as big as a traditional slider. Just breaks
tighter.
away. Yeah.
The 2 strikeouts, 2 singles in this inning. And here's Garrett Cooper. Miami trying to cash in. And a good snare by d'Arnaud and a good take by Cooper to get ahead. We mentioned that Wright had been roughed up by Miami. Gave up 4 home runs in his 2 outings against the Marlins. Cooper had one of those 4 home runs. Matt Joyce had the other. He's on the bench. Jorge Alfaro had a 4-for-4 run with 2 homers against Kyle Wright this year, but he's off the bench today again. Ooh, a little spin on that one as it hit the deck. A good snare by Wright, and he works out of a jam in his playoff debut. Gives up a couple of singles, but leaves 2 Marlins on base. Scoreless to the second. The National League Division Series on FS1 is sponsored by Hankook Tires, never halfway. And by T-Mobile, connecting fans in all 50 states with America's largest 5G network. T-Mobile, your ticket to the game. The great Bobby Cox managed this team to the 1995 World Series title. Trying to get this team back to the National League Championship Series is Brian Snitker. Very close to Bobby Cox, of course. And they've got the Bobby Cox cutout right behind the Atlanta dugout for this game. He's watching. Travis d'Arnaud breaks his bat, but flares one into left center field, and his hot series and playoff continues. A leadoff single here in the second against Sixto Sanchez.
The Braves have done a nice job. Bobby Cox is home watching, I'm sure, but they also have a helmet in the helmet rack with a 6 on it for Bobby. And Bobby, if you're watching, I miss our talks we used to have in Atlanta when I was there. He'd be there every day at the field. He'd come in, talk about the game, good or bad, and always had a smile on his face. One of my favorite guys to be around.
Tom Verducci had a great line about Bobby. He said if he's one of his buddies said if he's feeling good, that means he's going to be swearing at his house, watching something that he doesn't like. If he doesn't like something, he'll cuss up a storm. We hope you're doing well, Bob. Here is Ozzie Albies. 1 for 8 in the NLDS thus far.
How fun was it watching Bobby Cox sitting on the bench right next to that rockin' Leo Mazzoni the whole time?
An incredible team in the dugout, and obviously the Hall of Fame talent that they had on the hill and in the field. Domination of the closing days of the 2-division system in the National League, and then absolute domination for the better part of a decade and a half when the league was split into 3 divisions per league. Albies ahead on the count 3-0, and d'Arnaud will stay at first. Dansby Swanson, who's been dangerous, is on deck. Switch hitter batting lefty, Albies, facing 3 defenders on the left side. No green light this time, and it'll be a 4-pitch walk. Back-to-back base runners to open the second against Sixto Sanchez. And now Swanson, who has been a very tough out for Marlins pitching this year, and feels like especially in this series with the big bombs he's hit, he's going to come to the plate. And an early visit from pitching coach Mel Stottlemyre to chat with Sixto in the infield.
Well, and Stottlemyre right here, when we talked to Don Mattingly, the Marlins manager, he said, look, we have to manage this game differently. This is just a, hey, you gave up a broken bad hit, you just walked a guy on 4 pitches. Let's be real careful, because Swanson has killed the Marlins all year, and he's killed him in this series. So they can't afford for him to lay one in there. Swanson hit a 3-run homer, then fall behind 3-0. Pretty much the series might be over right there.
Both games in this series, early home run for Atlanta staked their starter to a lead. Miami trying to take the lead first for the first time in this set. They'll need Sixto to bear down here.
It was a fine line too. The first thing they came out hacking, right?
Yep.
Like 5 pitches, 3 outs. So you're playing in your mind right now, probably. All right, do I need to play off of that? Because when you have a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, your changeup works really good when hitters are having to cheat to it. But at the end of the day, they're still having to cheat to it to get to it. And it's 100 miles an hour. That is not easy to center.
First pitch, there it is, 99. Swanson has actually been very good against the really hard fastballs this year. Got a couple of home runs, in fact, against pitches that were thrown over 98 miles an hour, and that's where Sixto can live. A little bit high, and that's 6 straight out of the zone. See the average fastball velocity for starters this year. DeGrom, Dustin May, and Sixto.
He better be real careful right here. 2-0 Swanson. I know he's thrown 6 balls in a row, but the Braves are ultra aggressive. His chips are in for a heater.
2-0. There it was, and he missed.
But that was a good pitch. See how it was in. It wasn't in the middle of the plate.
It's not straight either.
No, but it was in enough to get. Well, I mean, Swanson's thinking, all right, 3-0 right here.
That ball's 99 and sinking into you, man. That is nasty.
It's a big strike to get on Swanson to get back in the count.
The one thing I didn't like about the Ozzy Albies about was that Sixto fell behind 2-0. They threw a 2-0 changeup. Look, dude, you throw 100 miles an hour. Throw that sinker down away, and if he tries to do something with it, maybe roll it over, whatever. But 2-0 changeup, that puts in the hitter's mind, maybe this guy ain't as good as he thinks he is.
A little bit low on that one at 99, and Swanson with a high leverage count at 3-1.
For them not to start Alfaro's 4 for 4, like you said, with 2 home runs, there must be a real comfort level between Sixto and Wallach out there.
Yep.
I mean, the catcher-pitcher relationship is so important, isn't it, AJ? I mean, I think when you go out there and you feel comfortable with a guy putting down fingers, that gives you a lot of confidence going into a start.
3-1. And he misses up and in. That is a couple of walks following up the d'Arnaud broken bat, and the bases are loaded for Adam Duvall.
And you start hearing the Braves dugout starting to chirp a little bit. They score a run here. The confidence will continue to grow in the Braves dugout, and the Marlins will start getting a little down, starting to press a little bit because they haven't scored a lot of runs in this series, and the Braves have just constantly had them playing from behind.
Adam Duvall, who had a 3 home run game against the Miami Marlins in that 29-9 win on September the 9th. One of those homers was a grand slam. Bases loaded, nobody out. There was a home run hack against 100. 0-1 the count.
What you can't do right here as a pitcher is try to get 3 outs with 1 pitch.
Right.
You're trying to get outs, right? You're trying to make quality pitches, and then that's all you can do at the end of the day. You make good quality pitches and not compound the inning. If you go out there and try to strike the guy out on the first pitch, you end up walking him in. Now you still got bases loaded and a run across. You have to get an out right here. This is huge.
And obviously the infield, with the shift against Duvall, is still hoping for a weak ground ball. They'll trade giving up a run for 2 outs here.
I wouldn't be surprised though if it's a hard hit ground ball that one of the infielders fires at home.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, if you're pitching, right, you're thinking, all right, this is the game. I know it's the 2nd inning already, but if you can somehow throw up a 0 or at most a 1 here, you got a lot of momentum going into your offense.
And that one came in on Duvall, and he fisted it back. 1-2.
And I don't know if it's nerves or adrenaline, but Sixto has not been able to look. Even in the first inning, yeah, he got quick outs, but all the balls were up. And so far, every pitch he's thrown has been up in the zone.
What was the velo on that last pitch?
It was a changeup. It was 88, I think.
Yep. Time called by Duvall. 32-year-old from Kentucky, drafted by the Giants, traded to the Reds, all-star there. He's been with the Braves since July of 2018.
All 3 of those guys don't matter behind you right now. Just this guy up to the plate, getting him out.
1-2. Got him with 100 up high. Duvall goes down swinging, and a massive first out for Sanchez to get here in the 2nd.
Not a lot of strikes here to Duvall. They're all up. Even the changeup, 3rd pitch, but fastball up. He gets a swing through. Another ball up. That's the changeup, 88. And then he goes a hundo up over the zone. But none of those were strikes. The difference is Duvall went out of the strike zone to chase him. Nick Markakis, the guy up, he will not go out of the strike zone. So Sixto's going to have to really bear down here with Markakis. Pretty nice weapon though, Wayne, to reach back and throw 100 at any point.
And such a huge out.
Way inside, and a good backhand stop by Wallach with a runner at 3rd. That'll give you a little comfort. You were talking about it, Wayno. Some trust for your catcher back there. Nicely done.
And now you've got lots of different ways you can get out of this inning, right? That first out is so huge in getting out of this inning.
There's a 1-0 to Markakis. Missed down at 97.
So you have 2 options if you're Markakis here. Either dead take, statute take, say I'm not swinging no matter what, or you just say, all right, I'm going to start swinging now at 100, try to get the head out and make this game 4-0 right away.
What would that 88-mile-an-hour paint change up down the way right here? Does he have the stones to throw that pitch?
No chance he's throwing that pitch. Because he hasn't thrown one close for a strike yet, so it's going to be ball 3. Markakis isn't going to swing at it. There's no way. If he could, he'd definitely get a swing at it, but there's no way.
Markakis might just be looking for 1 pitch, right? I got 2-0. If I get it, I'll swing. If not, I'm taking. And he swings and sends it to left. Dickerson charging, and he made the catch. What a play to save a run.
That was a changeup. That was the changeup down the way I was looking for. You know, and that's like I said, I wanted him to hit that liner to left, and you know, just kidding. That's actually great hitting right there. 2-0. You got a guy throwing 100 miles an hour on the mound, and you stay back and you hit a well-located changeup to left field. That's incredible.
And look at Dickerson just keeping it off the deck. My goodness, what a play.
That was just a great bait. First of all, you got a guy throwing 100. He throws a changeup. Markakis lines it to left Dickerson. The only bad part was Darno's base running. Now, I will say this, because of the short porch in left field, much like Fenway, the left fielders here play more shallow.
Right.
So he was worried if that ball gets down, will he be able to throw me out of the plate? That's why he didn't tag up. That is the toughest read for a base runner.
What a huge play by Dickerson right there. That ball gets past him. We're clearing the bases right there. I mean, that is
Austin Riley swings away in the 9th spot. He's down to the count, 0-1.
Just a huge play.
So as you're talking about the runner, why didn't the runner tag up? Well, he's thinking, okay, I know you always check the base runners, d'Arnaud. Catcher's not known for their speed. That ball's hit so hard, he's thinking, okay, if this ball drops, I got to be able to score.
Right.
And because Dickerson's so shallow, he takes that extra step, doesn't allow him to get back and then tag up and score.
Had more to do with how hard the ball was hit, correct?
And the placement of where Dickerson is and the field being so short in left field.
The base is still loaded for Austin Riley after the incredible Dickerson play in left. And a chance for Sixto Sanchez to maybe get out of this 2nd inning with no damage done after the bases were loaded with nobody out. 0-1 to Riley. 100 and high.
Go
ahead, JJ.
The one guy that really struggled with velocity in this lineup has been Riley.
Yep.
The rest of them, they can hit velocity. He's the one guy that has struggled with velocity.
One. Big cut. 99 couldn't catch up to it. And Sanchez is a strike away from a Houdini act here in the 2nd.
If he gets out of this inning, what a momentum boost for the Marlins,
Big
right?
time.
How many times do you see a team doesn't score with like bases loaded, 1 out, 2nd and 3rd, no out, whatever it is, and then the team on the other side that gets out of it comes back and finds a way to score a run?
A lot.
Bases loaded, 2 down in the 2nd. And a 1-2 to Riley. On the ground to short. Rojas has it. The flip to 2nd in time. And Sixto Sanchez pulls a rabbit out of the hat. Bases loaded, nobody out. 22 years old, down 0-2 in the series. Nothing through an inning and a half. Corey Dickerson with a sparkling defensive play to help Sanchez get out of that bases loaded jam. And now 2 gentlemen making their playoff debuts square off at the plate here. Sixto Sanchez, little magic act to keep it scoreless. Right to Chisholm, a speedster who shows bunt. And he is ahead of the count, 2-0.
The Marlins would love nothing more, obviously, than to get Chisholm on base, put some pressure on Wright, maybe have him steal a base or 2.
This has been one of the best base stealing teams in all of baseball in the Miami Marlins. Only the Padres have more steals during the regular season, but haven't been able to get the running game going in this series. 3-0 count, and Chisholm will take a strike. Jazz Chisholm, 21 games during the regular season, made his debut a little over a month ago on September the 1st, and here he is in a playoff game. And he'll take a close pitch for ball 4, and Speed is on base for the Marlins. Well, today's game is featured on the free-to-play Fox Bet Super 6 app. One of the questions was who will hit the first home run. Here's a breakdown of who the Super 6 players picked. 19% were banking on Ronald Acuna. Dansby Swanson came in 2nd. It's the Fox Bet Super 6 app. Check it out today.
Now you got good wheels on the base pass. Our big thought about the Braves starter coming in today was whether he was going to be able to control his heater, right? I mean, that's one of the keys to his whole game. But putting the leadoff hitter on base that can really run, that complicates things.
So here's Miguel Rojas at the plate. No movement that time from Chisholm at first.
When you already don't control your heater and your off-speed stuff that great to begin with, and then you have to worry about being really quick to home plate, that can do a lot of stuff to your mental game when you're out there trying to make pitches.
Just so much more to worry about. There's a check over to him. 4 stolen base attempts and 2 steals in his 20-plus games during the regular season for Chisholm.
Well, Wright, we came in the first inning, said Wright struggles throwing strikes, period. The key for him is his walks. He has to keep his walks down. Walks is basically what got him sent to the alternate training site because he walked him, and he came back, started throwing strikes. But like Waino said, he's even worse out of the stretch throwing strikes.
Bunt shown that time. Rojas will pull back and take a strike. Tom Verducci, you got a runner at first base that's new to the game in the playoffs in Jazz Chisholm.
Yeah, last night, Don Mattingly, what he does is he texts his lineup to the players the night before the game. And obviously, Jazz was in today's lineup. Jazz showed up today and said, "Don't worry, Skip, I'm not nervous." He put on a monster BP show. This kid has really good pop at the plate. And he said, "See, Don, I'm not nervous." Mattingly said, "Hey, it's only BP. But I'll tell you what, this kid has tremendous confidence." At the age of 17, he talked about wanting to play 15 to 20 years in the big leagues, hitting .400, and being a leader like Derek Jeter. But as he said, you need to aim high even if you miss high. He's got a lot of energy. I don't think this came from the Miami analytics department when Mattingly explained why he's in the lineup. He said, "We're looking for a little magic from Jazz."
Great stuff.
Plus, really cool name.
Great name. There he goes. Rojas swings and bounces it left side. Chisholm will be safe. Swanson slings it to get Rojas. But into scoring position goes Jazz Chisholm with one out here in the second.
Little hit and run by Donnie Baseball. Put Chisholm in motion. It's really hard for Chisholm to steal. Wright is 1-1 and under to the plate, so he's being super quick. Donnie's trying to put some pressure on him. He wanted Rojas to try to hit a ball to the right side, open up that hole, but he hit a ground ball. And I actually thought Chisholm might think about not even stopping and just keep going to third. That would have been
something else.
It would have been a race.
Because Swanson was starting to have that momentum carry him towards the bag at second. Would have been fun to see Jazz Chisholm make a move. There's another youngster in Sierra. This is the play.
So you see Chisholm, he's going. They want the ball hit to the right side, but because of where in the long throw, Riley would have been there. But Chisholm's already past second, so it would have been a race between Chisholm and Freddie Freeman's arm to see who got to third first.
A 1-0. Missed outside to Magnarice Sierra. Couple of hits in game one. Went 0 for 2 yesterday before Lewis Brinson came in and pinch hit for him and took over in center field.
I love Tom's comments about Chisholm. He wants to be Derek Jeter, play 20 years, hit .400. I mean, shooting for the stars,
yeah,
kid.
Man.
That's all he wants.
That's it. That's it. Aim high, man. Aim high. Bouncing ball to Acuna at second. That'll move Chisholm to third. Sierra retired. And there's 2 away for the 9-hitter Chad Wallach. Of course, Derek Jeter is the CEO of the Miami Marlins, part of the ownership group with Bruce Sherman. And a lot of people would maybe describe Miami as ahead of schedule. It's a little hard because it was a 60-game season. The playoffs were expanded. But when we talked with Derek Jeter the other day, he was straight up about it. Hey, the future is now. We're not going to have the mindset that we're going to wait a year or wait 2 years. We're here to win now. They need to win today to extend their season. Here's Wallach. Taking a strike.
I'm looking at that lineup and I'm just thinking if Starlin Marte was in there.
Sure. Great point.
You know, that would make it even more deep. I mean, that is a big bat, a big athlete, big time player who's got postseason experience taken out of your lineup. That's a big miss for them.
Waves and misses, and it's 0-2. So an opportunity for Wright to get out of this inning after the leadoff man reached base.
And I'm noticing that every time Wright gets runners in scoring position, he runs right to the slider. He did it in the first inning, and he just did it to Sierra, but he fell behind 2-0, and then he's thrown 2 sliders in a row here to get ahead of Wallach 0-2.
Waves and misses in the dirt. Tossed down to first to finish it off. Both pitchers have been in some tough spots in the early innings, but we are scoreless. Ronald Acuna, Freddie Freeman, Marcell Ozuna, a very dangerous trio coming up. Ronald Acuna takes up and in to start off this Braves third inning. Flew out on the first pitch he saw in the first. A 5-pitch first inning for Sanchez. 22 in the second. Braves loaded the bases with nobody out, but could not scratch home a run against Sanchez. So now second time through the order. (2-0). And Acuna is going to take all the way. Another 3-0 count from Sanchez.
He just looks a little bit off. Everything is up. It hasn't been sharp. First inning, the Braves swung at some pitches, but now they're not.
Well, they got the 3-0 green light at 100 miles an hour.
And interesting, after game one, when they hit Acuna, the first 3 pitches were all in. He kind of gave a little bit of a look out there like, hey, be careful.
And Acuna will take a 5-pitch walk. He's aboard to lead off the third inning. Well, back in the second inning, bases loaded, nobody out. Huge pitch to Duvall at 100.
I don't know how you get on top of that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, very few hitters are going to be able to stand up to 100 miles an hour at that height and put any kind of good wood on it. That was a great pitch, and he needed it.
That was the first out of the inning. Runner goes. Acuna, the throw down to second, and Acuna is into scoring position. His second stolen base of the playoffs. Able to take advantage of Wallach, and Acuna will be at second base with nobody out. And a little shaken after that.
Got a great jump. Makes somebody angry. The way they've done Acuna, he gets on first. Now they're going to check at the replay.
Ooh. Could be close if there is a challenge here, and there is.
Bueno, here you go. Media debut, pal. What do you got? Safe or out? This is where it gets fun.
I thought you were going to ask me something controversial. Let's see what it is.
Hard to fully tell when the hand was on the bag, but it looked like it took a really long time for the glove to get to Acuna. And if that's the case, and he's already safe at second, then I don't know if there would be enough to overturn the call. You do get one additional manager's challenge during the postseason, so each manager has 2 with which to work.
I didn't see anything from that view particularly that caused me to go, well, he's clearly out.
Right, right.
But they've had a couple reversals so far that really surprised me. They probably have a lot more angles and stuff than we have.
Yep.
Well, that second angle our camera crew, our great crew showed was the one for me that looked like he was safe. The slow-mo kind of from the side.
Yeah, it's just hard to tell. Plus the shoe of Rojas, the cleat, is kind of blocking the view of Acuna's hand. So a lot to parse here, but if indeed there is a lot to parse, you would think it's just inconclusive, and you got to leave him at safe.
That's the angle for me that looks like he's safe. It looks like his hand hits there.
Yeah.
And his glove hasn't quite got, like his hand's on the base with the oven mitt he has.
The first person I ever saw to wear that mitt was Rafael Furcal. That mitten there, you know, those keeps your hand from getting broken when you slide into second.
Doing it for safety's sake, yep. So indeed, Acuna is safe. First stolen base of the series for the Braves against this Miami catching staff. And Acuna, with nobody out, is in a scoring position for Freddie Freeman, who's down in the count 0-1.
Watch this at bat. I feel like Freddie Freeman is going to do everything in his power. He's going to dive out over the plate and try to hit a ground ball.
He's getting them over here. That's what you're saying.
In his mind, he is thinking, all right, I am getting at least Acuna. He's going to try and drive him in at the same time.
Talking with the home plate umpire and crew chief Mark Wegner. They trying to clarify the count.
It was a strike. Oh no.
Well, better to get it right. What do you call it though?
Pitch went inside. I was looking for a call from Wegner. Never saw it.
He must have called it a ball.
The big board here at the stadium, the Jumbotron, has it as a strike, as do we, but obviously Freeman wants to make sure.
My question is, does he go over there and he look at himself and say, I don't remember what it was a minute ago. You don't remember he called it a ball or a strike?
He might be looking at that square going, hey, did it hit the square?
While they're checking this out, we have a quick word from Google Cloud.
I just don't understand what. Doesn't he have a clicker? The old umpire clicker where he strike ball?
I don't know.
This replay went from pretty quick at safe
Yeah.
call at second to a really long one.
Well, and now you got Sixto Sanchez waiting out there on the mound. He's had to, throw a couple of warm-up tosses in between as well.
I just don't know what they could possibly be looking at. Is he looking at in Wagner, the home plate crew chief, he doesn't see the replay, so he's just sitting there. Whoever's in New York is telling him it was a strike or it was a ball.
I didn't see him lift the right arm.
Neither did I.
But he is a little slower to get that arm up.
He has a delayed call, does Wagner.
There's been several times I go, man, I need that pitch, and then he called it a strike.
Yeah, you have to hold back your reactions with certain umpires. Yep, there you go. Now they confirm it's a 1-0 count. I think Don Mattingly wanted to come out and make sure that he understood what was happening here.
I don't know if I've ever seen two different replays on one play before.
Yeah.
Wagner, what are you doing?
Invoking your buddy, our man Hawk Harrelson. Mark Burley's smiling somewhere right now as well, part of that staff. So 1-0 the count on Freeman. Runner at second and nobody out. Acuña's got plenty of speed at second base. And Freeman, often aggressive, will lay off first pitch. Or next pitch, I should say.
So 2-0 here. Does he throw him a changeup?
Oh, it's an interesting pitch call in the last one, too, because you don't want him to throw him something in the zone that he can easily get him over with. But you also got to worry because it's Freddie Freeman, potential MVP up there. You got to get this guy out.
Swings away over the shortstop Rojas. Dickerson gets to it fast, and Acuña will hold up at third. But there's the first base hit of the series for Freddie Freeman, and it sets up runners at the corners and nobody out for the Braves in the third.
Well, here we go again. Can he pull another Houdini and try to get out of this with no runs? Bases loaded, no outs last inning. And it's been the walks really for Sixto so far that have hurt him. 3 walks, a leadoff walk to Acuña, then promptly steals second. 2 walks last inning. You can't keep putting yourself in these positions and keep getting, especially against a lineup like the Braves, getting out of them.
And now you got the NL home run and RBI leader in Marcell Ozuna with 2 on and nobody out. First pitch swinging, and Marcell Ozuna gives the Braves the lead. Acuña scores, and it's 1-0 Atlanta in Game 3.
Each one of these jams, too, that you get into early on in games really takes a lot out of you because you know that each pitch you throw right now is just hypersensitive, so important with guys on base especially. One pitch can lose you a whole series almost, it feels like, when you're pitching out there. So
nice swing. Does exactly what he's supposed to do. Just gets inside it. Had a little mini shift on him. Just shoots it to right field. That's how you lead the league in RBIs. You drive in those runners from third with less than 2 outs.
His third RBI of the series, and now d'Arnaud swings at the first pitch and is down 0-1.
And here's that momentum coming for the Braves as you're pitching out there. You've got to try to find a way to stop. You need an out right here. There's still no outs. You got first and second. You got a strike on him already. So this is a very, very, very important out for the Marlins right here. Even if the runners advance, you get an out, you've kind of stalled the momentum a little bit.
Couldn't pull the trigger, and it's 0-2 on Travis d'Arnaud. Communicating with the catcher Wallach going over their signs, and there is action with James Hoyt in the Miami bullpen loosening up behind Sanchez. Don Mattingly said he was going to manage with a sense of urgency today, rightfully so, down 2-0 in the series.
There is no tomorrow for the Marlins if they lose this game. So, yes, you have to have people ready.
In the air, right center field. Sierra and Birdie ranging back, and it's off the wall. Freeman will score. Ozuna will score. Travis d'Arnaud continues to smoke here in Houston. It's 3-0 Atlanta.
When you look back at this game, at the end of the game, what started it all? The walk.
The dreaded leadoff walk.
The dreaded leadoff walk. And, you know, when sometimes we'll be on the bench, we'll look out there and we'll say, those leadoff walks will haunt you, you know, and they really do, man. Those leadoff walks just have a way of coming around to score.
Man, that is way out of the zone, and d'Arnaud got a hold of it.
But the velo was down, 95. The one to Duvall was 100. 95, he was able to get on top of it. And a huge, huge hit. Another one for Travis d'Arnaud. And Acuna, he hates it. He's so excited. He's like, keep throwing at me, I'll keep scoring runs, guys.
But look how far up that was, but there it is, 95 from Sanchez instead of getting it up to 98, 99, 100.
And that could be from the last inning where, you know, he had to put a lot more into it to get out of those jams. So, you know, you use up a lot of adrenaline too early in games, especially playoff games that can really come back to get you later on.
That's something we saw against the Cubs as well. The velocity a little down the second, third time through the order, which is typical for a lot of pitchers. But we did see that in Chicago for Sanchez as well. And this Braves offense continues to get it done. All four have reached, 3 have scored, still nobody out. And here's Albies, who walked his first time up. Swinging away and sending it to center. Sierra's there, makes the grab. d'Arnaud will tag from second. Here comes the throw, and he is in there. First out of the third, but d'Arnaud is 90 feet away from tacking on another.
Well, another bullet off the bat of the Braves, too. They haven't missed many pitches this inning. And Sanchez hasn't looked comfortable since the first. The first inning was quick, easy, 5 pitches. That second inning was a struggle in the strike zone. And then this inning with the leadoff walk. And the thing is, the pitches he's throwing in the strike zone are getting hit because they're not quality pitches. They're just pitches.
Yeah. And now here's Dansby Swanson, who walked his first trip back in the second. Home runs in each of the first 2 games of this set. Shift is on with the infield playing a little bit in. Pretty much even with the bags on the left side.
And I don't know that Sanchez has thrown an off-speed pitch for a strike other than the one maybe Duvall swung at.
Albie's the one just now was a changeup, wasn't it?
Was it?
I thought it was a changeup. Could be wrong. But those changeups are middle of the plate, kind of thigh high.
Big cut from Swanson on that pitch out of the zone and low.
That was a good one. That was a good changeup, Swanson. But
86.
He threw one to Markakis that he hit the line drive. Dickerson made an amazing play on. Duvall kind of swung at one that was borderline, and Albies hit a rocket to center that just didn't get high enough. And then that's like the first true good changeup he's thrown.
Off the fist. Charging in Birdie. Underneath it. d'Arnaud's going to take off. Here's the throw from Birdie. It'll be cut off, and it's 4-0 Atlanta. A sacrifice fly for Swanson.
Birdie looked like he didn't get behind that ball to me a little bit. Kind of snuck up on him. Might have gone a little farther than he thought it was going to.
I think he misjudged it a little bit. He came running in because he got jammed. Swanson got jammed, so I think Birdie was like, all right, I don't want it to fall in front of me. And then he got too far underneath it, couldn't get back behind it to get everything behind the throw. So Birdie hears the sound. He's like, okay, he's jammed. Oh no, I went too far. And then it's too late for him to back up. He gets nothing on the throw, and d'Arnaud scores easily.
Here's Duvall. Ideally, you'd like to be a couple of steps back from where it's going to land. You can take those couple of steps, almost a running start into it to get ready for the throw. That's what you mean when you get.
As an outfielder, you want to kind of time it to where when you catch the ball, all of your momentum is going towards home plate. He had to get his momentum going after he caught the ball, and that's just too much time.
There's that change, and it's 0-2 on Duvall. A big inning was the difference in Game 1 for the Braves. That came in the late innings. A big inning in the early frames here in Game 3 to take a 4-0 lead.
And this is exactly what the Marlins couldn't do. They could not fall behind in this game, especially by more than 1 run. They haven't had the offensive firepower in this series. And now the Braves have all their bullpen lined up. I mean, Wright gets into any sort of trouble, you'll see Snitker go hard to try to finish this series and finish this game.
If you're Mattingly, do you think mid-game about switching Alfaro and some of these other guys in there that have numbers to try to get
maybe
the offense going?
Joyce and Alfaro maybe off the bench earlier than usual.
Yeah, but then you run into later in the game, you lose matchup possibilities. If something,
Sure.
You know, if you trade him out in the 3rd inning, then what?
Duvall fouls it away, and it stays at 1-2.
It certainly makes Snitker's job easier to match up if he knows he doesn't have as many bench guys out there. So, yeah, what's the old saying? Go with what got you here. And Mattingly chose these guys to start, so he's got to.
You see the Braves were very good during the regular season, have been great in the postseason when scoring first. Heck, in 3 of the 4 games, they were the only ones that scored.
I was going to say, it's easy to score first if you don't give up any runs to the other team.
What an electric lineup when it's at its best. 2-2 to Duvall. And there's a strikeout at 99 to end the inning, but 4 runs, 3 hits, the leadoff walk. Ozuna got him going with an RBI single. D'Arnaud followed it up with a 2-run double. A 4-0 Braves lead as we head to the bottom of the 3rd. The MLB app, the one place to get everything for your favorite team's chase to the pennant, including video highlights, pitch tracking, and much more. You can download the MLB app today for the postseason in your pocket. And Kyle Wright works with a lead, a 4-0 advantage into the bottom of the 3rd. Top of the Miami order up, and John Birdie promptly gets hit in the elbow.
This is a huge spot in the game for the Marlins. They just gave up 4, also for Wright. They just gave up 4. They need to put something back on the board. Now Wright's got the top of the order. He needs a shutdown inning right here. If he can put up a 0 and just end all kinds of feel-good feelings going on over there with the Marlins side, he's really doing himself a service. Now the Marlins, they put up 1 or 2 right here. They're right back into this game. This is a big inning right here.
Especially to get the leadoff man on with speed in Birdie.
I wouldn't be surprised if Snitker has somebody start stirring out there. Just you want to end it as quick as possible and shut down any possibility of any I know it's only the 3rd inning, but you can't allow the Marlins to gain any sort of traction.
First one to Dickerson is outside and low. And a quick chat to make sure everybody's on the same page. Well, we got a moment. A quick word from Apple.
Want more postseason stats? Hey Siri, who leads the postseason in RBIs?
I really like that visit right there by D'Arnaud. That there's no reason to let this get to 2-0, 3-0. You just hit him on the first pitch, Birdie, and now you got one way wide on ball 1. Don't let it get too far out of control. Go out there and talk to him. That's what you would do, isn't it, AJ?
Oh, I might have been out there after he hit Birdie with the first pitch.
Sure. Bouncing ball right side and through. Birdie will hold up at second as Markakis gets to it, but back-to-back base runners for the Marlins here in the 3rd against Kyle Wright.
Well, you already said it, Wayno. This is a huge inning for the Marlins season, for the Braves possibly advancing. Now you've got 1st and 2nd, nobody out, and you got your 3, 4, 5. The Marlins have got to be the next team to score in this game, and if they aren't, I mean, this series and game will be over really fast.
So now Jesus Aguilar, who singled his first time up, had a home run in Game 1 of the wild card series against the Cubs. Hit 8 of them during the regular season. First pitch misses inside on Aguilar. Wright comes back with a strike to even up the count.
Right to the slider with runners in scoring position. He's done it every time there's been a runner in scoring position. Aguilar clearly didn't like the strike call from Wegner.
That was a real pitcher's pitch right there. You want it as a pitcher and you hate it as a hitter.
Because it's a ball.
I know Matt Carpenter's at home laughing and agreeing with you on that one.
Cut from Aguilar, and it's 1-2.
So he gets the pitch before called a strike. Now, as a hitter, you're thinking, there's the same pitch I have to swing at. You swing at me. You see the frustration on Aguilar's face because the pitch before led him to swing at that one, and now he's in the hole 1-2.
That's how much weight is on every pitch right now. Completely shifts the at bat. A big pitch from Wright with 2 on. 2-2.
And see, if I was hitting right there, I'd be like, is that a strike too? Even though it almost hit him.
And it was. I mean, you know, it was on the corner, wasn't it?
That pitch? We got to get your,
pitchers
your
are
eyes.
Always, we're always begging for stuff, aren't we?
AJ, to your point, though, Grant Dayton already loosening up, the left-hander behind Kyle Wright, who deals 2-2. You mentioned Aguilar is a guy with power. These are the last 4 offerings from Wright to Aguilar. Staying low.
He's staying down there, and he runs a sinker in. And I don't know how Aguilar got a piece of this one. Kind of emergency hacked, half swung at it, and just tipped it to stay alive. Here comes a slider, though.
2-2. There it is, and he just got a piece again.
You all right?
That's good hitting right there. Fouling off 2 pitches on both sides of the plate. Tough sinker running into you on the pitch before, and then a nice slider on the corner away that time.
Remember, Aguilar is a really strong pull hitter. About 42% of the time he pulled the ball, and with that short porch and left in the Crawford boxes, it felt like this ballpark could be ripe for Jesus Aguilar. There's a 2-2 from Wright. Got him with a big breaking ball and a strikeout. 1 down here in the 3rd.
And that was the curveball right there, wasn't it, AJ? That was 84 with a little bigger break to it. You know, he'd been hard in, hard away, hard in, hard away, hard in, hard away, and then the slow had him sped up really nice to slow him down there with the swing and miss.
Really good pitch, like you said, Wayne. He just changed the shape of his breaking ball, more of a traditional curveball straight down. And Mike Maddox, you know, he's called that the fish hook. You throw him slider, 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 then you throw a curveball. A little bit slower, start in the same spot. You get that swing and miss, and Aguilar's still barking, I think, about possibly that pitch that was called on him.
4th strikeout for Wright. Now it's Anderson. Kind of an excuse me swing, fouling it.
And another first pitch slider with runners in scoring position. You're sitting on the bench as a hitter thinking, okay, well, every time there's been a runner in scoring position, first pitch slider to every single guy.
And it just feels like there's no fastball counts anymore. That's been a theme all year. Everybody's pitching what we used to call pitching backwards. That seems to be more of a norm now than it ever has been.
I was watching the game the other day. It was out of hand. Pitcher was throwing 100 miles an hour and throwing 3-1 breaking ball and 3-2 breaking ball.
Staying low, and it's 0-2. Anderson quickly down to the count.
But you can tell on the swings, though, they're not picking that spin up real well on that slider cutter thing.
Well, this is the exact same at bat Anderson had his first time up with 1st and 2nd, 1 out. Slider, slider, 0-2 right away.
And then he pull hooked a couple of sliders off of that, trying to make them better. Let's see if he just sticks with what's really good and rolls with it.
25-year-old out of Vanderbilt. Ahead of the Marlins cleanup man. Yep, went back to it, and he went around. Back-to-back strikeouts for Kyle Wright with 2 on, now 2 away.
Another slider. Anderson just cannot lay off of it, and because you're behind 4-0, you start getting a little more anxious as a hitter. All right, someone's got to be the guy to get the big hit. I got to hit a 3-run homer instead of just saying, okay, stick here and see if he starts another hitter with a slider, runner in scoring position.
Here is Cooper, who, as you mentioned, has homered off of Wright this year. 2 down, 2 on in the third. Wright looking for the shutdown inning after his offense put up 4.
That was really impressive watching the Dodgers just pass the baton the other day, to your point, AJ. Just not trying to do too much. If he's not giving you the pitch you want to drive, pass the baton to the next guy, let him drive it, you know. And that was an unselfish approach. They did a lot of great things. This Marlins lineup, they could do the same thing right here.
Fastball a little off the plate and a little high.
Well, that Dodgers game last night was incredible.
Awesome game.
I mean, yeah, everything in that. Home runs being robbed, closers struggling to finish, guys screaming, you know, pitchers throwing gloves from the pitcher's mouth. Throwing their hats.
You hitters can throw bats all over the place, but pitcher throws one glove, and now that's all anybody wants to talk about.
I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
It was so much fun for us watching. There's a 2-0. And Wright misses low. It's 3-0.
How many of these pitches have been strikes? I mean, the pitches he made on Anderson, are those all strikes? I mean, most of those are off the plate, right?
I agree.
They're expanding right now. He's got a 3-0 count. What are the chances he could throw 3 strikes before he could throw one more ball?
I'd be willing to bet 0 right now. 3-0. The pitchers can always throw a strike 3-0 because they no fear of the hitter swinging.
No swing there. He took all the way, and it's a 4-pitch walk to load the bases. Rick Kranitz is going to make his way out to check on the young right-hander Kyle Wright. We'll step aside. We're right back in 30 seconds. 2 down to the third. Quick visit from Rick Kranitz to Kyle Wright. A 4-0 Atlanta lead, but the tying run for the Marlins is coming to the plate. With the bases loaded and 2 down in the third, it'll be Jazz Chisholm. Birdie was hit by a pitch. Dickerson singled. Cooper just walked with 2 out.
Here's our guy Jazz. Said he wanted to be Derek Jeter, hit 400. Guess what? Jeter got a lot of huge playoff hits. First playoff game for Mr. Chisholm. Let's see if he can live up to his owner's reputation.
And you never know as a player when that big moment that's going to define your career might be. It might be right here for Jazz. You never know.
Goes with the breaking ball to start him, and Jazz is ahead in the count 1-0. Miami had a stockpile of pitching in their farm system. They were not afraid to use that to acquire a bunch of pieces. Chisholm was one of them. Hard hit towards second, grabbed by Albies. He'll fire to first in time. Sixto Sanchez did it early, and Kyle Wright just got it done. He leaves the bases loaded. Still 4-0 Atlanta. Welcome back to the National League Division Series presented by Doosan on FS1. Into the fourth we go at Minute Maid Park in Houston, and it is a left-hander in Trevor Rogers who is on for the Marlins. And he'll face Nick Markakis to lead things off. A couple of lefties in the Atlanta lineup. We may see Rogers try to give them some length. Made 7 starts during the regular season. A 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. And when we talked with Don Mattingly today, we had asked who might the next guy up be in case the Marlins do force a Game 4. Trevor Rogers was towards the top of the list to be the starter if the Marlins were to win Game 3, but with a 4-0 hole and needing to keep this game right where it's at, Don Mattingly, managing with that urgency, goes right to Rogers.
Well, Mattingly definitely wasn't showing us his cards. We kind of had to pull it out of him who possibly start Game 4, but he said, look, if we have to use Rogers in Game 3, we'll figure out tomorrow if we get to tomorrow.
Yep. Well, Markakis, Riley, and then back to the top. And a bouncing ball to Aguilar at first. He'll retire Markakis to get the first out of the 4th. Trevor Rogers, a first-round pick back in 2017. He's never pitched out of the bullpen in his pro career. And as we said, needing some length right now and hoping to keep this very impressive Braves lineup in check. Struggled against the Braves back on September the 21st. They really got after Rogers, getting their first look in a few weeks against him. Riley's ahead in the count. There's a fastball strike. That's right around where he tops out, about 96. He's very fastball heavy. About 60% of the time he throws a 4-seam fastball. Mixes it up with a changeup and a slider.
His velo's up a little bit coming out of the bullpen. It usually sits around 93, 94, but we've seen 96, 97. It's playoff adrenaline out of the bullpen.
Pretty nice changeup right there on that last one, too.
Yep. 86. Back to the changeup and a bouncing ball to Anderson. And he'll retire Riley. 2 up and 2 down here in the 4th. Well, millions of kids nationwide are without their normal access to sports and play due to COVID-19. And that's why Fox Sports and Good Sports are restoring play for kids and the programs that serve them through donations of brand new sports equipment. You can help keep kids in the game by texting PLAY to the number on your screen. Back to the top, and Acuna has flown out, walked, stolen a base, and scored.
It's a dangerous matchup for me right here. Acuna's mad. He's still thinking about getting hit by that pitch in Game 1. Some blood with the Marlins. Lefty on the mound. 2 outs. He's thinking one thing: bridge.
Seems like Rogers might know that.
Yes. Pitchers can be. They can sense fear sometimes, and
there's a whole mental game going on out there between the hitter and the pitcher. That first at bat, you alluded to it a little bit, AJ, when they kind of came in on him and he kind of looked out there and you said, be careful. That was a second at bat, actually. You know, that's the thing. I've seen some of the best hitters, they use that. It's not necessarily that they think you thought they were trying to hit him. It's just that they don't want you in there. They want you to know that I don't like you in there, and that makes you a little bit more uncomfortable, especially if you're a young pitcher on the mound. You might leave one out over the plate because of that attitude.
3 balls and a strike on Acuna. And he misses inside. It's a second consecutive walk to Acuna. And he is aboard with 2 down in the 4th. Who's somebody that sticks out in your mind over your years in the league that kind of had that feel to him?
Albert used to do it to a T. You know, you had to pitch him in. If you lived in there, he would hit it out to left, obviously.
Right.
But you had to show him in there to get him off away because he could drive the ball from pole to pole. But if you threw a couple of tight ones in there, he'd look out there and give you that kind of that mean grimace, and the pitcher would be like, oh, okay, I won't do that anymore.
There's Freeman. First pitch swinging, smacks it towards the gap in left center. Sierra has some trouble with it. That might let Acuna score. He's on his way home, and it's 5-0 Atlanta. The Braves off to a red-hot start here in Game 3, looking to clinch.
Braves are playing with a type of excitement and emotion right now that they feel like this this spot in the playoffs is not where they're ending this year. You can almost tell those guys are out to prove a point this year.
Well, we said in the open they'd won the first 2 games. Freddie Freeman hadn't done diddly. 0 for 8. He's already got 2 hits today. And much like in game 1 when Acuna got hit by the pitch, he was scoring on that ball no matter what. And as soon as Sierra bobbled it just a little bit, there was Ron Washington would have had to tackle Acuna to get him to stop at third.
Here is Ozuna with the runner at second. It is a single and the error on Sierra, which allows the runners to advance. So no RBI. Acuna's got his eyes on Sierra, and as soon as he sees that bobble, I don't think it would have mattered what Ron Washington was doing there. There's a big cut from Ozuna on the slider.
Well, they got Acuna out his first at bat. First pitch he swung and Sixto got him out, hit a fly ball, but after that the next 2 at bats they haven't given him really anything. In 3-0 he swung his last at bat, and this at bat I was shocked he didn't swing 3-0. Then he walks, and then guess who you get to face? The probable NL MVP. All he does is bang a hard ball to left center, and it's 5-0 Atlanta.
Pitching against lineups this deep is so tough because, yeah, you look at the lineup and you go, all right, I can't let Ronald Acuna Jr. beat me today, right? Or I can't let Freddie beat me. But if you put guys on, then you got the RBI leader right behind him in Ozuna, and d'Arnaud's having the series of his life.
And it makes a lot of sense in terms of lineup structure, right? With this team, you take your 3 best hitters by far. You said it in game 1, AJ. They had the best OPS combined. Acuna, Freeman, Ozuna. You're going to have some opportunities behind you because it's so hard to go up against these guys. You don't want to put them on base.
Right, left, right too. So with the new 3 batter, 3 batter rule for relief pitchers, you can't just bring in a righty because you got that guy Freddie Freeman in the middle. You try to get tricky and bring in a lefty, and you got to face Acuna and Ozuna on both sides of Freeman. So it is a predicament as a manager.
And I hear a lot of what I think is a fallacy, and you can disagree if you want to, it's fine. But I hear people saying, oh, I don't like the 3 batter rule. It takes the strategy out. I think it adds way more strategy, in all honesty, for managers having to navigate lineups. That's been the case.
I agree.
2-2 on Ozuna.
And it eliminates that sidearm lefty that I used to have to face twice as serious.
And it eliminates, as a starting pitcher, when you don't play for 4 days in between, it eliminates the other manager, changing 15 times, and especially like September call-ups when you got almost unlimited roster. Those guys used to run. Bruce Bochy used to work that to a T.
Freeman with a knock in this inning. First 2 men were retired by Rogers out of the pen. Got Markakis and Riley. And then the walk to Acuna, the single from Freeman with the error by Sierra in center, his first of the year. Allowing Acuna to score and Freeman to reach second. Now 2-2 to Ozuna. And he got him with the change.
Good pitch. That whole at bat was big for Rogers. He started off Ozuna with a really tough changeup.
He was able to bounce back to finish off the inning. I don't think the guys out there realized there were 3 outs in the inning. To the bottom of the 4th we go. Braves added a run. It's 5-0.
Baby, it's just you.
Dig it up.
Kyle Wright got out of a bases loaded jam in the 3rd. Kept the Marlins off the board. Atlanta tacked on 1 more in the top of the 4th, and Kyle Wright's back out there ahead of the count against Miguel Rojas. Just 56 pitches for Kyle Wright, or at 56 pitches. It's been laborious at times.
Well, you and I talked about this a little bit when we were watching Wright. He's got a lot of Mike Leake in him. I mean, the motion's kind of similar. He's even got a little bit of the look with the longer hair.
Yeah, he does. Mike, if you're watching, good looking dude.
Give him a little love. Check swing from Rojas, and he laid off. He's ahead. Mike Leake, former Red and Giant, and your teammate with St. Louis. Was a Gold Glover in Arizona last year.
He's an incredible athlete. He can really hit too.
Here's a 2-1. Rojas fouls it at the plate. Two young guys on the mound here in Game 3. Wright, the 25-year-old in his playoff debut. Sanchez, the 22-year-old, third time this year having to muscle through the Atlanta lineup. They got to him for his shortest outing of the season.
Well, the walks are the thing that
Right.
got Sanchez. He just had no command today from.
Rojas, hard hit. Acuna towards the gap. He's there. One down.
This is all learning experiences. As talented as Sixto Sanchez is, and being able to throw it 100 miles an hour, you still have to locate it. And yes, he threw a lot of strikes, but they weren't quality strikes when he did throw a strike. So the Braves had a great time. They could go up there and say, okay, we're looking for one pitch, mainly a fastball in one spot. And then when they got it, they did miss in the third inning.
Here's Sierra. In terms of game planning, when you're an offensive lineup, I imagine if you're playing well, the game plan shrinks. That's what you're kind of alluding to. Now, where you don't have to really expand and look at everything. Let me just find a couple of pitches or one pitch, and let's try to be as efficient with those pitches as possible.
Well, when you're facing a guy and you see that they really can't locate anything except for one pitch, which is his fastball, you just don't start eliminating pitches. He doesn't throw a slider for a strike. He barely threw a changeup for a strike. All right, well, let's go up there, look heater.
That's a backdoor slider for called strike 3 on Sierra. 2 up and 2 down here in the fourth. 1 in 5 kids in the U.S. may not be able to afford to play next season. You can text Little League to 3133131. And T-Mobile will donate $1 to their Little League call-up grant program so our kids can keep playing ball. 6 strikeouts nearly 2 times through the order. And as Waino was alluding to earlier, we might see some subs earlier in this game. So Jorge Alfaro, better power option in the catcher spot, will come in here in the fourth. And a breaking ball starts him off with a called strike at the knees.
See, this is curious to me because I would have liked to have seen him when the bases were loaded, like take a shot, or Matt Joyce with the bases loaded had some success off right. 2 outs, nobody on right here for Don Mattingly. If he hits a home run, it's 5-1. It doesn't do you as much.
And obviously he'll take it, but it also kind of limits the options later in a game. If you do make your way back into the game, obviously one of the downfalls of that is you won't have as many options to play with off the bench. But as is the case when you're facing elimination, got to get there first. What a play by Wright. Right off the mound to retire Alfaro as part of a 1, 2, 3, 4th inning. 4 shutout frames for the 25-year-old. For the Braves, including a 2-run double from Travis d'Arnaud, as we get a look at his Indeed player resume. 2 trips to the postseason, one with the Rays, one with the Mets, where he caught every inning en route to a National League pennant. But a lot of strikeouts, 27 and 83 at bats in his first 2 runs in the playoffs. He has been as important to this Braves team in this series as anybody. A guy who used to be thought of as kind of a footnote on a postseason roster. Dealt with a ton of injuries while he was with the Mets. Never really found traction, never really found his footing. And the Mets ended up shipping him off. Ended up with the Dodgers for 1 game last year before he ended up being tagged over to the Rays. As you see, Alfaro behind the plate remains in there. And Travis d'Arnaud has found himself a nice spot here in Atlanta, and he has been key for the Braves.
Well, as sexy as those numbers are hitting offensively, let's not forget 3 of the first 4 postseason games for the Braves have been shutouts, and they're in a shutout right now into the 5th. So his defense
just as important. Strikes out here. There's 1 away in the 5th, but let's get a little bit more on the Braves catcher from Tom Verducci.
Well, Adam, a lot of hitters will let you know where they like to pitch with their practice routines. You watch Freddie Freeman, it looks like he's hitting a driver. He's a low ball hitter. Watch Travis. He'll do this every time. He works on staying on top of the baseball. And in today's game, where pitchers love velocity up, breaking ball down, that swing works. And you saw that with that double on a pitch that is 4 feet off the ground. Watch him get on top of that pitch with the low finish. It's not by accident. You're looking at a guy who really has turned his career around.
And there's a base hit from Ozzie Albies off the sidewall. He'll take the big turnaround first. Dickerson gets to it, but Albies is into second with a double.
Adam, it was only a year and a half ago that he was released by the New York Mets, Travis d'Arnaud. He spent about 5 minutes with the Dodgers, wound up with the Rays, and was reunited with his hitting coach from Toronto, Chad Mottola. And Chad noticed that Travis's swing had gotten a lot bigger, more hand movement, more leg movement, really simplified it. And with an easier, simpler swing, he's found a lot more power, hitting like Johnny Bench these days as the cleanup hitter in the Braves lineup.
Tyler Kepner of the New York Times had a fantastic profile on Travis d'Arnaud. You should certainly check out just his path to get to where he's been in this series. Swanson with a man in scoring position in Albies with a 5-0 lead in the fifth. You heard Tom say it was 4 feet off the ground. By the way, our friend Sarah Langs gave us that note. That was the highest pitch off the ground that Travis d'Arnaud has put into play. That double he had in the third inning to drive in a pair.
It was a neck ball.
Yeah, it was like a tomahawk swing. There's a big cut from Swanson.
I love that report from Tom. Chad Mottola in Orlando, lives in Orlando, UCF grad. And
Yep.
we have mutual friends in Orlando, and I run into him. I got to sit down. If he can do this with Travis d'Arnaud, maybe, Wayne, I can make a comeback. I can hit your 82. You're floating up there.
I have pitched like that before. That's true. The thing that Tom said that stuck out to me the most was that hitters, you can tell what they want by their practice swings or whatever on the on-deck circle. There are some weird on-deck circle routines. Now, I would have to argue with that sometimes. Some of that might be true, but there's some really weird ones out there.
I'd love to compare some pitcher pregame routines with some batter routines in the on-deck circle and see which ones are weirder.
Paging Hunter Pence.
Yeah, Hunter was the first one I thought of. Hunter and Mike Morris used to have a hilarious one where he would like bring his knee up and who's
I'm just thinking of Adrian Beltre dragging an on-deck circle closer to the plate so he can see better.
Yeah, Jason Hayward's got a weird one, and there's a lot of really weird ones out there.
2 balls and 2 strikes on Dansby Swanson from Trevor Rogers. The other way to right. That'll get down in front of Birdie for a base hit. Albies is getting the wave. The throw cut off by Aguilar. His relay gets away. Nice bare hand by Rogers to snare that off the back wall. And that holds Swanson at first. But it's an RBI to drive in Albies. And it's a 6-0 Atlanta lead in the fifth.
That really was a great play by Rogers right there. The bare hand off the wall. Those pitchers, they're usually the best athletes on the field.
Oh, sure.
First of all, let's talk about the swing by Swanson with 2 strikes. And then I got to give some love to Ron Washington. He knows Birdie's not normally an outfielder. He's kind of a utility guy. He never hesitates sending Ozzie home. And he made it, even with the relay, so great job, Ron Washington. He made it easily.
Tell you what, there's so many hours that these coaches put in learning every single thing about the outfielders that are going to be playing that day, the bounces. They put in tons of time to know if they should be sending guys or not and what bounces they're going to get. They really do. Coaches put in so many hours. It's crazy.
And you obviously know Ron Washington. You guys met. I know you were injured at the time, but Ron Washington leading his Texas Rangers team to a couple of World Series, including one against you guys, a classic 2011 World Series. AJ, you got to be there to watch that.
Also played for Ron Washington in Texas in 2013, and what a fun guy.
Yeah.
And we saw him before the game. He's always out there working. He's hitting little short hops with Swanson, and all the little fielders, and making sure they got all the hops taken care of, keeping their hands in place and working on those outfield bounces. You see him working all the time.
2 balls and a strike on Duvall, who was fanned twice today against Sanchez.
When we showed Ron Washington waving Albies home, I love he's screaming at him. I used to hate when I was running around third. I hated it. This is the pregame ritual. You've seen him do with pretty much every infielder over his tenure as a coach in Oakland and manager in Texas. Freddie Freeman's pretty good working on his picks right there, but when he's waving home Ozzie, he's yelling at him. You got to go, man. As a runner, I'm like, I can only go so fast. Like, you screaming at him, he's not helping.
2-2. Inside and low. Well, I think Buck Showalter may have told this story yesterday, but Marcus Semien, who was not a very good infielder in college at Cal. In fact, I think he had a ton of errors, something 20 errors in his career. He credits Ron Washington for the Gold Glove. And when he got the award, he had an inscription sent to Ron Washington that said, "I wouldn't have this without you." I'm paraphrasing that, obviously, but that's how much Ron Washington means to a lot of players, in particular guys on the infield. That work we were showing you is not an accident.
Coaches need love too, man. You know, I was leading a tour with a charity group I brought in a couple years ago, and it was like 10:30 in the morning for a 7 o'clock game. And when I got there, one of our coaches was there full uniform already at 10:30 in the morning.
Wow.
For a 7 o'clock game, just to get prepared for the day. And there's so many coaches around Major League Baseball that are doing that put so many hours into making sure we have our best going out onto the field.
Duvall pops it up foul. Both managers, as you might expect, but both managers were very complimentary about their staffs. You know, we probably don't give enough love to first and third base coaches, to bench coaches. We talk a lot about pitching and hitting coaches and managers, but the number of guys on these staffs and around baseball, so essential to the day-to-day operations. Marlo Hale right there. Trey Hillman and Billy Hatcher for the Marlins do a great job too. Duvall cranks one to deep left field. Back on to Dickerson. He's looking up. It's off the wall. It is in play. It's going to drive in Swanson. It is 7-0 Atlanta. It's a double for Duvall. First hit of the division series for Duvall, and it puts Atlanta up by a touchdown.
Hits just keep on coming for Atlanta. Wayno, you mentioned it. They get the momentum rolling. They're starting to swing. They get the lead. Marlins start feeling a little pressure, like we've got to do this, we've got to do that. And the Braves sense it. They like sharks. They smell fear. Here they go. Duvall thought he had a homer.
The key for both sides now. The Marlins, you got to keep plugging. You can't think your season's over, and the Braves, you can't get too far ahead of yourself. You got to stay in the moment.
There's Markakis fouling it back.
But that feeling has already started to creep in.
Sure.
You can be the most professional, the biggest believer in the world, but you look up at that scoreboard, you see 7-0.
Yeah. With
a full complement of Braves relievers, and their bullpen has been amazing this whole second half of the year and the whole postseason. I mean, that dread starts creeping in.
I was thinking about the bullpen for the Braves earlier, and just we haven't even seen AJ Minter yet.
Yeah.
And he's one of the nastiest left-handers in the game.
Yep.
And if you've got a guy like that still in your back pocket and you haven't even used him, and you have incredible arms like Mark Melanson and stinking Darren O'Day, Will Smith. Will Smith's nasty.
Yep.
You got all these guys you're bringing out of the pen that are just really, really good. Martin, he was been great too.
Yep.
All these guys have been nasty, and you haven't even used all your aces yet. It's amazing.
I imagine we'll see some of those guys get work today, especially if the score stays this way, just to get them some action. Only 2 games in the wild card series for both of these teams, but really in that game 1 against Cincinnati, you saw the depth of the bullpen really being shown off. 6 innings pieced together by that pen in game 1. Top 4 bullpen ERA in all of baseball this year. Markakis stays alive at 0-2.
This is such a Nick Markakis typical professional at bat. They're up 7-0. Rogers has thrown him some really nasty. nasty pitches, and Markakis, most guys would have been like, oh, we're up 7-0, not a big deal. He's up there scrapping and clawing and just barely getting a piece of some of these nasty pitches.
My teammates are trying to distract me, sending trade rumors right now.
About you?
About our fantasy football teams. I'm like, guys, I'm trying to work right now.
Fastball just missed off the outside edge. Hey, Bucks and Bears tonight. Thursday Night Football makes its debut on Fox this season.
Super 6.
Fox Bet Super 6 app. Check it out now. There it is. Look at our crew paying attention. I talk like they're just drifting off in the truck randomly during games, which they are not.
It's been amazing from my point of view how many people are just on the spot with so many cool stats and graphics thrown up there. Those guys are very, very talented behind the scenes, aren't they?
Great crew to work with, led by Aaron Stoikov, Mitch Riggin. Fantastic women and men in our truck. And we're very, very grateful to get the chance to be here and watch playoff baseball in person. Now, most of the year, a lot of these national broadcasts, well, all these national broadcasts have been done out of studios. So for a lot of us, it's our first time this week all season long and in over a year for a lot of us to be at the park. So we're just very, very thankful that we have that opportunity to be with you. These are the other division series that you'll have a look at the rest of the day as the Astros try to put it away. A's entire infield homered yesterday. Randy Arozarena is having an outstanding postseason. Rays took a 2-1 lead last night. Markakis flares one into left. Dickerson's there, and there are 2 down. And AJ and Wayno already talked about how fun that game 2 was between the Dodgers and the Padres last night. Great job by our crew. Cody Bellinger in all of the drama had some massive plays. This was the biggest by far. Tatis with a chance to give the Padres the lead.
The catch, the route, the catch, the pimp by Tatis, thinking he hit a homer. Bellinger knows it, and then the pitcher throwing his hat, throwing his glove, blowing kisses to Manny Machado. I mean, wow.
Brusdar Graterol made some noise last night. The Braves have made a ton of noise already in a clinching game. They're up 7-0. Rogers is out. We're coming back in a moment. Sponsored by Camping World, making RVing fun and easy since 1966. And by Doosan, the official presenting sponsor of the National League Division Series. There may not be anybody having a better time than Ronald Acuna Jr., but his Braves are up 7-0 as James Hoyt comes into the game here in the 5th with 1 on and 2 out. 9-hitter in Austin Riley up. And Hoyt eases one in there for a strike.
Can we show that Acuna dancing video again? I want to know if Tom Verducci is standing there watching him.
Tom's going to analyze it in a report coming up.
I want to see him get involved and look at him. Come on, Tom, get your hips going.
Tom's analyzing it. Tom's like, all right, he's moving his arm at a 4-degree angle. There's a bouncing ball wide of third foul from Riley.
AJ, there's 2 things never ask me to do: sing and dance.
Well, see, now I want to see it and hear it just because he's built it up now. Nobody wants to see. I want to see it now. We'll see if Acuna dances if he comes up here in this inning. Otsu to Riley, and he gets him swinging. That'll end the frame. 2 more on the board in the 5th for the Braves. We're halfway home in game 3. Ronald Acuna Jr. is feeling good. A little Van Halen for you. Rest in peace, Eddie. Past the halfway point here in game 3. And Kyle Wright will remain out there to maybe get him in line for the win in his postseason debut. And then Brian Snitker, you'd imagine, would turn it over to the bullpen for the last 4 innings or so. First pitch to John Birdie at the top of the Miami order, into center for Acuna. 1 down.
One of the things I was looking for going into this inning was how he was going to respond after sitting down for so long.
Sure.
You know, and when you can come out there and pitch and get the guy to pop up the first pitch of the inning, that is a real good way to start. You know, earlier we saw him in the dugout laughing and carrying on with the manager, and he came back out locked in and came back out and threw strikes, nothing but strikes right away. I've been really impressed with him today. He's been good.
Well, the Marlins have had chances. They've had traffic.
Yep. Six left on base.
They've had some traffic. They just can't get the big hit. They're 0 for, what is it, 7 or 8 with runners in scoring position.
There's Dickerson. He's got 2 of the 3 Marlins hits, both singles, 1 to left, 1 to right. Dickerson had the big defensive play in the second inning with the bases loaded. Got the second out of that inning. Kept it scoreless at the time, and then the Braves exploded for 4 in the third. 3 more since. But that catch was awesome to see.
We thought at the time this might change the game and maybe the series after the Braves had the bases loaded, no outs. Dickerson makes his play on Markakis. Keep it scoreless, but what a great catch. But it hasn't done much. Atlanta's up 7-0.
All part of StatCast, brought to us and powered by Google Cloud. Broken bat for Dickerson. That'll roll to Albies. 2 down.
This is where, you know, me being a positive sort of dude.
Let it permeate the booth. Let this positivity permeate the booth.
This is where I would be in the dugout right now, trying to pump everybody up.
All right.
And the rest of our starting pitchers will hopefully be doing the same thing. Just imagine, this is what I'd be saying, just imagine if we come back and win this, how legendary this will be. This comeback is going to be remarkable. You know, we've lived through several of those over the years, and that's the kind of mojo you need if you're going to come back into a game.
Here's Aguilar with 2 down in the 5th. What is A.J. Przinsky saying in the dugout at that point?
I'm thinking about my flight home right now. As bad as that is to say.
No, I understand.
Wait, no, you're the glass half full. I'm also the realist.
I heard it said a different way earlier that I liked. Half empty with the broken glass is what I heard.
AJ's glass is half empty, and it's busted, and it's jagged, and it might be very dangerous for small children.
As a fan of baseball, I'd love to see a comeback, make this game close. Marlins make this a series. That would be great.
For us, yeah. For us as fans of baseball. And listen, we want crazy things to happen. That's why we do this job. We're thankful to do it. But it's a huge mountain to climb. It feels like the deeper you go into this game, obviously.
It's not a hill. It's a mountain.
Yeah,
it's about Mount Everest at this point.
It's a big one, but it can be done. Crazier things have happened.
Well, Aguilar will go down swinging, part of a 1-2-3 inning for Kyle Wright, who's in line for a win in his playoff debut, shutting out the Marlins.
And welcome back to Game 3 of the National League Division Series, where the Atlanta Braves hold a 7-0 lead. And we are pleased to be joined by manager Brian Snitker. Brian, there was a point in this game in the 3rd inning with Kyle Wright where your pitching coach was on the mound, traffic was on the bases, and the bullpen was warm. He is still in the game. How did he fight through?
Oh, man, you know, he just kept making pitches. I mean, that's the key. Is these guys never stop pitching, realize they're a pitch away from getting out of the inning, and not giving in. And it's a great sign when you see a guy regroup. Saw Ian do it against Cincinnati in the wild card, and it's really a good sign when you see these guys do that.
A lot more to talk about again with your offense today, but I wanted to go back to an early hit by Marcell Ozuna. In a scoreless game, 1st and 3rd, your number 3 hitter takes a situational abbreviated swing to hit a ground ball the other way to get the run in. Tell me about that bat and how much you have appreciated his offensive game this year.
Oh my God, and he's done that a lot. I mean, he shot that hole many times, especially with 2 strikes and in situations like that. And guys like that find a way to drive runs in. I mean, he has been so good for our club. Obviously, the year he's had, to me, it's an MVP type year, and we're really lucky that we got him.
Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
All right, Tommy, thank you.
Thanks so much, Tom, and we appreciate Brian Snitker taking some time for us with his team in front. Yimi Garcia is on for the 2nd time in this series. as he faces the top of the Braves order. Acuna looking at a 1-2 count against Yimi. And called strike 3. Acuna takes one at the top of the zone, 1 down here in the 6th. Obviously, you both understand Brian Snitker very well, but maybe Waino better than anybody.
Look at that.
This is a straight up excuse to embarrass our buddy Adam Wainwright. First
Not a
round
muscle
pick.
on him.
You're like a tuna. It's just the whole body is just muscle.
It was just bones, is what it was.
2000 Major League Baseball draft. Number 29 pick. Here's Freeman grounding one to first base to Aguilar. Give me a sense of what it was like coming up and being able to see Brian Snitker on his way up in the managerial ranks.
You know what he was great at was managing people and managing players. And when you're in the minor leagues, largely you've got a bunch of really young guys who are not mature and physically yet, but also not mentally mature yet. And that was certainly the case with me. Double-A, I needed to learn how to become a professional, and him and our pitching coach Mike Alvarez just did a great job shepherding me, teaching me the game of baseball, teaching me the right way to play, and got me off to a great start. He was a super professional the whole time I was there.
Here's Ozuna with 2 down. AJ, obviously you've had the chance to see Brian at this level now. Like, you have an understanding of how he's developed as a manager.
He has. I was there when the Braves brought him in after Freddie Gonzalez was let go. I was still playing on the team, and you could tell he loves the Braves organization. He's been a lifer there, and when he got there, I remember we weren't very good, and to see him get to the point where you're happy for a guy like that. Under Bobby Cox, lifelong manager in the minor leagues, coach, longtime coach, got demoted from the big leagues to the minor leagues and stuck with it. And now he's here having postseason success. He's a good man, and he deserves what he's getting right now.
It's fascinating to watch guys who have come up with the players they're now managing. That seems to be the case. That's an organizational guy in Brian Snitker. Don Mattingly doesn't have the organizational background, but it feels like both managers have had to shepherd along a lot of guys in their times at these respective organizations.
They have, and Mattingly's doing it differently. He's teaching at the big league level. Snitker was afforded the opportunity to teach some of these guys at the minor league level.
Right.
And it's just different, and how you have to get to different places. They're in the same place, obviously, in the same series in the playoffs, but they got here different ways.
What the Marlins have done, in my opinion, is truly remarkable, though. You go from losing 100 games to battling a really, really tough Braves team in the NLDS the following year, beating a good Cubs team at Wrigley, by the way, which is not easy to do. I just think, I don't know how much Derek Jeter has brought into that. It's probably a lot, but Don Mattingly's winning style coming from the Dodgers and Yankees.
Right back the other way. Ozuna, we were just talking about his approach with 2 strikes, and he bullets one into right field for a 2-out single. There's Derek Jeter, the CEO of the Miami Marlins. Obviously, he and Don Mattingly with a long-time connection going back to their days with the Yankees. Some people have referred to the Marlins organization as Yankees South, and with good reason. A lot of pieces, some players as well, that have gone through the Yankees organization, and a handful of coaches and executives being brought into the fold.
Well, there's something to be said about winning culture.
I was just going to make that point. It's a great point.
And those are 2 of the best winners of all time.
Sure.
So bringing that into an organization with a lot of young players who haven't had that history of losing a bunch of 100-loss seasons, that could be really great, because the one thing you need to do as a player, you need to show up be expecting to win. And if you don't have that mindset of I'm going to win today, I'm expecting to win, I'm expecting our team to win, then the other team has an advantage right away.
Right. That's what Jeter told us the other day. He's like, that's the mindset I want. I want you to assume that you're here to win.
Well, that's easier said than done.
Of course,
so
absolutely.
You can say we're going to win every game and go in and half-heartedly believe, but until you get success on the field, which they have this year, as they're in the league division series here, but until you have that success and you believe that you actually can do it, that is a hard lesson to learn. Every team goes in, we're going to win. We're going to, you know what? There's really only a few that have an opportunity. So now that they've seen it on the field, all these lessons become easier to teach.
And you came into a winning culture too when you got dealt to St. Louis. And Atlanta, for that matter, too. You came in a winning organization.
I have been so spoiled to be with two of the great organizations in baseball history, with the Braves and the Cardinals, and be with the Cardinals this long. But to AJ's point, you can say it all day long, but believing it is a whole different thing.
Darno pops it up on 3-0. Aguilar runs out of room.
3-0 swing up 7, by the way. Times they are a-changing.
They are. More 3-0 home runs in the regular season this year than we've seen in a long time, and that's with a shortened campaign. Obviously, we're looking at the rates of those 3-0 home runs.
How do you feel about that, Wayno? 3-0 up,
I had
7.
a feeling that you were going to ask me that.
Yep.
Well, I was asked about Tatis's homer earlier this year, too, that he hit with 3-0. But you know what? With dynamic offenses sometimes that you're playing against, there's really no lead that's safe anymore almost.
That's what we I mean, we were talking, AJ, maybe within the week that the Tatis thing happened, didn't Philadelphia come back twice, or the Blue Jays came back against the Marlins? They were down, or the Phillies, sorry, it was Blue Jays Phillies. They had this big comeback in multiple games back to back. So that point was made right there that you're saying, Wayno, it doesn't feel like in modern baseball that any lead is safe, and that makes it more exciting. They're checking on Yimi Garcia right here. 2 outs here in the 6th, 2 on for the Braves. We'll step out for a moment. We're back in 30 seconds. Garcia stays in. He faces Ozzie Albies here, and a cut for a strike. First 2 were retired by Yimi Garcia. He struck out Acuna looking and got Freeman to ground out. A single by Ozuna, and the walk to Darno. Marlins in their first postseason in 17 years. Braves trying to reach the NLCS for the first time in 19 years.
Having a hard time getting on the same page. To button up your point, Adam, about the 3-0 swing, and Wayno, I'm all for it. Look, the game has changed to a point where everything is pretty much off the table now, so go for it. We saw it in the San Diego game last night. You got pitchers throwing hats and gloves, batters throwing bats, screaming at each other. I mean, hey, this is the way it's going to be. Then let's roll with it. Let's run.
Yeah.
Let's run with it and have fun. And let's have nobody get their feelings hurt. How about that?
Yeah, it's an evolving game constantly, and it's a cyclical game, I would say, too, right? Like, it's not always going to be played the way it's played in this 10 to 15 year stretch. Guys evolve, guys adjust, teams make different changes. They decide they want a different approach. Nobody talked about anything like what we talk about today with the volume that we talk about it with until Billy Beane started doing this. You know, like the Oakland, that was considered a shocking turn in analyzing the game of baseball. And now it's as common as anything. So the game continues to evolve, and the personalities will continue to do so as well. And I'm all for it here. Balk here against Yimi Garcia.
I think that was a delay of game penalty.
5-yard penalty, both runners advance.
The 3-0 count is also the only time pretty much that a hitter, especially nowadays, can be almost guaranteed that they're going to get a fastball.
And,
right?
and that almost is a little loosely used right now, it feels like, with certain pitchers, I would think.
And then you get I've heard our hitters talk about this a lot. You take 3-0, you get the heater down the middle, right? And then you got a 3-1 breaking ball and a 3-2 breaking ball coming. So it can be tough.
It's harder. It's more strategic. I think the beauty in the game is more molecular now than it ever has been. It really becomes about, appreciating that a guy can come out and throw 100 and then throw the nastiest 78-mile-an-hour curveball you've ever seen and then back it up with an 89-mile-an-hour slider. And you have to hit that. That's the beauty. That's the chess match that we got to remember to appreciate. And that's more apparent now than it ever has been in this game. Albies pops it up to Anderson to close out the frame. We head to the bottom half of the 6th inning. 7-0 Atlanta on top, leading 2-0 in the NLDS. Welcome back to the NLDS, presented by Doosan on FS1. 7-0 Atlanta on top to the bottom of the 6th, and Kyle Wright continuing to throw. That was just his 75th pitch. So Brian Snitker going to stick with the 25-year-old in his playoff debut and let him try to maybe finish out 6 before turning it over.
Well, he'll be going. Snit will be going hitter by hitter, just in case something gets through, and he's going to have all hands on deck available. He's got to get 12 more outs. Snit is not going to let this kid get into trouble. He wants him to walk off the mound with a positive feeling and a positive vibe, get ready for the next round.
This was a huge performance for their team, too. Now you know that you've got 3 guys that you can trust to go out there. And in a longer series, that's going to come in like real big. You know, when you got 2 guys, that's great. But when you can count on 3, that's huge.
There's a bouncing ball from Anderson to third. This Braves bullpen has been dynamite. And we do see A.J. Minter loosening up. You were thinking we may see him today. We likely will. Right now, the Braves with a 7-0 advantage, just having a good time. See how loose this team has been. A look at our game summary. Sixto Sanchez got out of some jams early, but then the 4-run 3rd inning got the Braves going. They've taken advantage of traffic on the base paths. 1 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, and Kyle Wright has made it all stand up. And he faces Garrett Cooper here. There's Minter.
If this thing stays the way it is, the Braves move on. They're going to put this really good pitching to the test against some great offenses.
Absolutely. Either way, regardless. And obviously the Dodgers are up 2-0 on the Padres as they'll flip-flop home and away on their neutral site in Arlington. But 2 of the best offenses in all of baseball. The power and speed combo that the Padres have littered throughout their lineup. And I mean, we've already talked about how deep, maybe the deepest team in all of baseball the Dodgers are. 9th inning issues though last night, and that's been maybe the biggest problem, the biggest hole that we see with the Dodgers. With Joe Kelly last night after Kenley Jansen really struggled to get guys out.
What do you do if you're Dave Roberts? Jansen's been there for a long time. He didn't have much last night. You have a 1-run lead going to the 9th tonight. Is it Jansen? Is it Kelly? Is it someone else?
Sure.
Well, you got a couple of other incredible options. The young fellow throwing his hat and glove was throwing 100 miles an hour.
Can you imagine if he got the save to win the series? What he would do? I mean,
he may not have clothes on by the end of it, actually.
But you also got Trainin, who is nasty.
Yep. 3-2 to Cooper is back to the mound. Kyle Wright with the 2nd out. It's so tough. It's such a difficult line that you're walking, AJ. To your point, Kenley Jansen's been your guy. He is, for the struggles he's had, that they love Kenley Jansen. He's had some massive moments in the postseason for the Dodgers these last several years.
He has had some massive blow-ups in the 9th inning, and it sucks if you're Dave Roberts.
It's not fun.
It sucks.
It's not fun at all.
You imagine he has to walk in there and say, Kenley, we got a 1-run lead. You're not getting up tonight. He has to look his guy in the eye for the last however many
I don't
years.
envy that position.
No.
Kenley's the best, one of the best that's ever done it.
Yeah.
In that inning. Plus, that's a big man.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
That is a big man. You do not want to get on his bad side.
You don't want him coming after you if you're the manager?
Think so. I don't think so.
walk and a ground out for Jazz Chisholm in his playoff debut. He's ahead in the count, 2 balls and a strike. On the ground, 2-2, and Albies.
Look at him run.
Wow, he is fast, right?
Golly.
But a 1-2-3 6th inning. Kyle Wright, a sparkling playoff debut today for the Braves. One in 5 kids in the U.S. may not be able to afford to play next year. Text Little League to 313131, and T-Mobile will donate $1 to their Little League call-up grant program so our kids can keep playing ball. This is a kid, 25 years of age, who just put together a 6-inning shutout performance in the biggest game of his life, holding this Marlins offense to just 3 hits. And Kyle Wright in line for the win in his postseason debut. He retired 10 in a row to finish 12 of the last 13 retired by Kyle Wright. Ryan Stanek is in for the Marlins as we start the 7th, and Dansby Swanson's ahead in the count 2-0.
And that's a good feeling right there when you see your teammates coming over there. He's overcome a lot this year. Like you said, he'd been sent down already. You know, he had a couple of rough starts, especially against them during this season.
Yep.
He came out today and proved that he can pitch against anybody on any stage. That showed a lot. That showed a lot to his team. It showed a lot to himself too. He's gonna come away feeling really empowered by this moment. I feel like.
Well, that was one of the stories, right, AJ? Does the Braves starting rotation have enough depth to carry them for multiple starts through a long series? And obviously, you don't know if that's the case going forward. But today, man, Kyle Wright was really good.
Him. Ian Anderson yesterday.
Yep, absolutely.
Max Fried struggled a little bit in game 1, but bullpen picked him up. They have 3 legit starters that can go into whoever they play in the next round. They finish this off and believe they have an opportunity to win those 3 games. That's a huge feeling, and he was in cruise control about the last 3 innings.
Yep.
I mean, it was boom, 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 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 1, 2, 3, and there was nothing hit hard. He just was sitting back and enjoying the ride.
2-2 on Swanson. His way outside. Third team in postseason history with shutouts in 3 of their first 4 postseason games. That was the big note that we saw yesterday. The 1905 New York Giants were managed by John McGraw that year. They won the World Series that season. Here's a 3-2. Swanson skies it very high into shallow right for birdie. John McGraw had the most postseason ejections in baseball history until Robert Joseph Cox surpassed him in his career with the most ejections. So a fun little footnote there. Again, hope you're doing well, Bobby Cox, watching at home. The other team was the 1966 Orioles. Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson, Jim Palmer was on that staff. Boog Powell, Luis Aparicio were in the starting lineup that year. That was also a World Series team. So good omen if you're the Atlanta Braves organization right now. Here's Duvall.
I don't think any manager in the history of the game stood up for his players more than Bobby
Sure.
Cox would just run out there sometimes to get ejected just for fun. I feel like.
I was just thinking the same thing.
There were days I think he was just like, I'm going to get ejected today, no matter what. It was like you'd be watching the game and you wouldn't even. It was like he wasn't even paying attention. And someone's yelled, "Oh!" And he'd look up. Bobby Cox be getting ejected.
I got a great story about that, about Brian Snicker.
Hit me.
Here we go. Brian Snicker in the minor leagues. He runs out, and I was on the AA team. Skip Schumacher was playing on the other team.
Sure.
Or he was playing with us also. Or he's playing on the other team. Sorry, against the AA Cardinals, and we're losing. Cardinals are beating us, and he needs to pump it up a little bit. So Snicker runs out on the field and says, "That's a great call. That's a great call. You nailed that call. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to throw me out right now."
I knew
He's
where
like,
this is
"What?
going.
What are you talking about?" He's like, "I'm serious. My team needs to get pumped up. And that was a great call, but you got to throw me out right now." I remember I talked to Skip after the game, and he was like, I cannot believe what I just heard Brian Snitker do. It was pretty awesome.
I'm just going to say nice things about everybody in very violent tones, I think, from here on out as Duvall goes down swinging. Wayno, you have done a very nice job here this week. I appreciate you as a person. You nice man.
I appreciate that. Do I have to throw you out now?
Yeah, I think here's what I want you to do. I'm going to leave, and you and AJ handle this the rest of the way.
I'm good on that.
We can't do that.
I like this little third-party role I've got here where I can just kind of chime in every now and then. That works for me.
Adam Amin, Adam
I
Wade,
love
right?
the fact
AJ
that there's this plexiglass between us right now.
We're being safe, y'all. We got these glass
I like how
separators.
that glass keeps creeping, though, a little bit closer and closer to you as AJ spreads it out.
You know, he's playing this I got a big wide back thing to extreme, too.
You are very strong, AJ.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that in mean tones as well.
He's like the guy that sits down next to you, the little tiny guy on the plane that spreads his legs out real wide. And you're like, dude, I'm 6'7". Give me some space.
I swear I'm not that guy. I try not to do that on airplanes. I promise you.
Speaking of that, did you see Matt Vasgersian, who did the game for MLB Network yesterday? He was on the bus to Texas, Arlington to do the game tonight, and he sent a photo of how much legroom he didn't have on the bus.
Matt, he's just shaking his head all week every time we check in with him. Matt Vasgersian, John Smoltz, and JP Morosi are good friends. Will be up the highway here, I-45 to Arlington. They'll have Game 3 on MLB Network between the Dodgers and the Padres tonight. A's, Astros, and Rays, Yankees on TBS with Game 4s later today. Appreciate all the great crews across national TV getting it done. Don Ursullo, Jeff Francoeur, Matt Weiner on TBS with Brian Anderson, Ron Darling, Lauren Shahadi. We mentioned our MLB Network crew tonight. And then if we are back, we will be back tomorrow for a Game 4. Tomorrow afternoon, if the Marlins can stage what would be one of the great comebacks in postseason history.
Speaking of the A's and the Astros, Zach Greinke mouthed the pitch today, and Ramon Laureano proceeded to hit it for a 3-run homer.
Oh, man.
He told him what was coming, and he didn't miss it this time.
Had you ever seen anything like what we've seen from Zach Greinke at various points, where he's just basically yelling to his catcher, fastball, curveball coming?
I think you could say that about a lot of things that Zach's done over the years. Zach's an interesting guy, man. He's got a lot of quirky little things he does, but everybody who's ever played with Zach Greinke loves Zach
Absolutely.
Greinke.
One of the biggest competitors anybody's ever been around the last 10 years.
And an incredible athlete. When I was in AAA playing against Zach Greinke, he wanted to stop playing. He wanted to stop pitching and go play shortstop.
Wow. Markakis pops it up off the fish. Chisholm is out. And that'll do it for the Braves here in the 7th. They go down in order. Stretch time here in Game 3. 7-0 Braves lead it. Braves bullpen has been near untouchable in the postseason so far, and that is with A.J. Minter throwing 2/3 of an inning in Game 1 of the wild card series against Cincinnati. He was one of the nastiest left-handers in all of baseball this year with that sub-1 ERA. Deals with Miguel Rojas to begin the bottom of the 7th inning, and there's a strike.
This guy is just filthy. Absolute gas fastball, 96, 97. And that first pitch we saw right there is like a cutter, slider, hard, 89. Just eats up righties on their hands and breaks away from lefties.
Got a nice look at it from here. Roller to the left side. Swanson with a tough play on the run, and he makes it to retire Rojas. That's 11 straight Marlins retired by Braves pitching.
I love that angle from behind home plate. It just shows you how hard hitting is.
Is that a changeup too?
It was a changeup.
Golly.
This is why you quit playing baseball, because it's really hard. You got 98, and then he throws you a changeup, and you roll it over to shortstop.
Lewis Brinson will step in for Magneuris Sierra. He's appeared in all 3 games in this series, started the first 2. And he'll take a fastball just inside. Whew. Man, you can hear that pop and you see it from that angle. Whew.
As a left-handed hitter, that still gives me the chills. Thinking about having to face guys like this coming in out of the bullpen throwing 98.
Got to look at this one more time. Our director Mitch Riggin shows it to us. Man.
So you think it's
so you
easy
want
to
be
hit.
a big league hitter.
So you think it's easy to hit in the major leagues.
I was just looking back through some of the stats on Wright today. Not how you draw it up. 9 for 23 on first pitch strikes.
Yep, starter for the Braves.
That's usually a recipe for not so much success as he had, but he got it done when he needed to, didn't he?
Yeah, worked from behind a lot in the count.
He got some expanded swings, though. The Marlins got in some situations. They got a little over anxious. And instead of waiting him out and almost letting him put himself into situations that could have been worse, they swung at some pitches and got him out of a couple jams.
One and 2 on Brinson. It's the backer point up. Bueno, the Braves have thrown 46 innings in this playoff so far, coming into the 7th. 43 of those innings have been scoreless innings. Marlins did not score yesterday. They haven't scored since they scratched home a run in the top of the 8th inning off of Chris Martin in game 1. Bouncer to Swanson. Easier play this time, and it's 2 up and 2 down. That'll bring up Jorge Alfaro. Lowest postseason ERA through 5 postseason games. We mentioned those Giants in 1905. They were World Series winners. The Reds in 1919, of course, that was marked by the Black Sox scandal. The Cubs in 1907 were World Series champions.
I look at that and I go, all right, so basically we haven't seen anything like this
for a century,
like ever.
Yeah,
you know.
Alfaro down to the count.
I certainly hope the 1905 Giants were the champions if they never gave up a run. I mean,
it's
the old saying
fair
is,
point, yes.
Adam, I don't know if you know this or not, but the team that scores the most runs wins every game.
That is incredibly big if we can prove that to be true somehow.
Was that bullpen ERA or just ERA?
That's overall
ERA.
That was
overall ERA,
okay.
Yeah.
In 1905, they didn't even have bullpens.
That's what I was thinking.
The starter went out there and pitched every game.
Well, here are the pitchers. I looked this up last night after I saw the note. Christy Mathewson.
Okay.
Sure, obviously one of the first Hall of Famers. Red Ames, who had a very good run that year. And then Joe McGinnity, another Hall of Famer. So, yeah. I mean, really, really impressive names in the history of that franchise. I heard Vasgersian say it yesterday. He's like, since the 05 Giants, or 05 New York Giants. And I'm like, wait, did Matt get something wrong? 05? And I looked up, it was 1905.
2005 Giants had a pretty good run too, right?
That's a fair point.
Did they?
Am I thinking about 2002? 2002 Giants.
Yeah,
2002 Giants.
Yeah. 05 was a great year for me.
Dusty
Giants so much.
Dusty Baker managed in 02. There's a strikeout of Alfaro. My goodness. A.J. Minter out of the pen, making it look easy. 44 scoreless innings in the postseason. The National League Division Series on FS1 is sponsored by Taco Bell. Space Center here in Houston. It's about 25 miles away from Minute Maid Park. Great images from, I was going to say, our friends at NASA. I mean that collectively, not just like my buddy there. To the 8th inning we go. Brad Boxberger is on to face Austin Riley in the 9th spot.
That's a really cool place. If you get the opportunity to go to, I've been down there with my children before, and it is really impressive. They have all the control rooms set up you can walk through.
Really cool simulators.
At NASA?
At the places down south, just south of Houston.
This is a great time to bring that up. I had to battle half my team thinking the Earth is flat this year, and they think we'd never been to the moon and all kinds of crazy stuff. We've got a bunch of flat earthers.
I imagine it makes for interesting clubhouse conversation.
So Carpenter, yes, flat earther. Carlos Martinez, definitely a flat earther. Yachty's more of a round earth kind of guy.
Smartest guy on the team, Paul DeYoung, is a flat earther. Never seen it.
Paul DeYoung, guy who actually does like NASA-like investigations into his swing.
And I have a really good friend who is just like wanted to grow up being an astronaut her whole life, and it makes her like mad with like fury, like tears coming down that somebody would ever think that we've never been to the moon.
It's upsetting. You're dashing dreams at that point. That's not good. There's a 2-2.
Tony La Russa, flat earther.
I don't know if this is a live shot right now, but I mean, what I mean, do you really want to?
That's just a conspiracy. That's
right.
Not from a real telescope.
No, that's true. Fabricated.
So when we send people up in space and they're up there, and I know a couple astronauts.
That's a heck of a flex right there. I know a couple astronauts.
They've looked down and they said it's round.
Yeah,
so
they're lying.
Oh,
that's what
Mike Massimino, if you're listening, you're a liar. Just telling you.
Hey, not out of my mouth.
all those years of work you put into becoming an astronaut. Sorry.
Not out of my mouth.
Wow.
It's 7-0 if you didn't figure it out based on the conversation alone. It's 7-0 in the 8th inning. 3-2 on Austin Riley from Boxberger.
Austin Riley, when I look at him and I just go, that guy is a third baseman. Doesn't he just look like the patented third baseman built looking guy?
You could be looking at a Ken Caminiti right now, since we're in Houston. We dropped that.
He reminds me of Troy Glaus a lot.
Oh, great comparison, former Angel. Well, one on here to start this inning. We got Kevin Burkhardt in the studio. He's got a game break for us. KB. Everybody's invited to our baseball convo. Here's Acuna. Wow, Carlos Correa having a massive series in the American League Division Series against the A's pitching staff.
The pregame show, David Ortiz, definitely a flat earther.
Flat earther?
Yes, no doubt.
Are we just going to, I mean, we can spend the rest of the time just naming them. I think it'd be a funny list. It'd be a really good list. High profile names.
If I had to guess, when I'm looking at Greinke do that, I think he's telling the catcher what sign they're going to go, or what
sequence,
what sign. Maybe he's already put signs down. Maybe he goes, hey, do the second one.
Gotcha.
Because he throws a slider. I don't think it's a curveball. I mean, maybe his sign is first, slider is 2. I don't know, but I don't know if he was telling him what was coming.
Well, it would be the first time he's done it.
No.
I'm going with the conspiracy theory.
Hey, we're already this deep into it, man. Let's go. Acuna, another sky-high pop. Somehow avoids all the metal up there in the roof of Minute Maid Park, and Brinson's there for the out. So this is what you see, that you just put the 2 fingers up right there. You'll see it.
I understand what you're saying, like he's telling him the sequence, but he goes right into the set. He doesn't step off and reset. He goes 2, boom, 3-run Jimmy Jack.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe the tongue out is a clue too.
I don't ever attempt to know what Zach Greinke's thinking, or he's usually a few levels ahead of everybody.
He's a flat earther.
That'd be something good to know, actually.
Here's Freeman. We'll take high and away from Brad Boxberger. And Astros have a 2-1 series lead on the A's, who kept things alive yesterday, but Astros in front now. Rays and Yankees will have Game 4 later today. Ryan Thompson and Jordan Montgomery are the slated starters for that game. And it was announced a little while ago, Adrian Morejon will go for the Padres, and Dustin May will get the start in Game 3 in a potential clincher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. The flame-throwing Dustin May.
Interesting that it's not Paddock for the Padres.
Yeah.
They said, I think he's going to start Game
4 if they get there. Yeah.
But if you don't get to Game 4, Paddock doesn't start in this series. Are they losing faith in him? Because he was their stud for this year.
And obviously losing Lamet. I mean, who knows what the series would look like if Dinelson Lamet was healthy. Obviously Clevenger gave it a go the other night and just didn't have anything to deliver. So he's done for not only this series, but if the Padres were to come back, he'd be done for the NLCS as well, because he was taken off in the middle of the series. Second walk of the inning issued by Boxberger. 2 on and 1 out here in the top half of the 8th inning. Well, 1 in 5 kids in the U.S. may not be able to afford to play next year. We're reminding you that you can text Little League to 313131. Every text is a $1 donation from T-Mobile to their Little League call-up grant program, so the kids can keep on playing.
Little League baseball is maybe one of the greatest things on earth, I think. Back in the day when baseball cards were a real big deal, you had the card shows on opening day. We had a big parade, and one of the best parts, I don't think they do this anymore, but it used to be the race to the snow cones after the game.
That's right.
That was my favorite part.
We were Dairy Queen kids. As soon as the game was over, we're going to get a peanut butter parfait and enjoy. Here's Ozuna.
You think this feels good for Ozuna? They're about to beat his former team, the team that traded him away. Kind of like Adam Wainwright, being a big Braves fan growing up. Afraid Waino might, if the Braves win, he might run down there and jump in the pile.
I had so many friends of mine, really close friends, rooting for the Braves against me last year. And they're listening right now. And I just want to remind y'all that you rooted against me for your home team. So the Braves fans, they're so loyal, they don't care about friendships or anything else. They're all about Braves. And I let them all know about it too. So you know who you are. You know who you are at home that rooted against me last year.
I was there. I was there. We called it on radio. I had your start in Game 3. What a great game that was. I mean, just in terms of the appreciation of the pitching in that game, strategy. Ozuna sends one into right field for birdie. 2 down. That'll bring up Travis d'Arnaud. How about this? So right now he comes to the plate with 7 RBIs in this series. Go back 100 years. Pudge, Yachty, and the late great Gary Carter in that magical 1986 World Series for the New York Mets against the Red Sox. That's the top 4 in catchers producing RBIs.
Well, the difference is the one Pudge was in was a 7-game series.
That's
so
right.
A little bit different. And then
this might be a 3-game sweep, and d'Arnaud might have 10 driven in if he
stayed hot. Travis d'Arnaud.
Yeah.
Yachty's was 7.
That was a 7-game series.
Too.
Yep.
Who was the other? Gary Carter.
Gary Carter, 86.
How far did that
go?
That
was a 7-gamer. Remember, Buckner was Game 6.
7 games.
Yeah. Buckner was Game 6, and then Game 7, the Mets put it away. 1-1 on d'Arnaud.
Where was your name on that list, AJ? You were like 6.
I was next.
You were 6.
It just cut off. We had to cut it off at 4.
I got a text from my friend at home just now that said, "False. That wasn't me. I was rooting for you." Yeah, right. Yeah,
they're all flooding in now. There's a 1-1. And to get production like this, though, again, I know it's different. You know, everybody can hit. Everybody hits for power. Everybody hits home runs now. But just to see d'Arnaud do what he's done, and to have the faith put into him to be put in this cleanup spot. He did it 15 times during the regular season. And they thought, all right, maybe this Acuna, Ozuna, Freeman thing at the top works. So we have another balk here.
I think it's another delay of game penalty
Yeah,
by
might
Wegner
be.
behind the plate. I didn't see Boxberger do anything again, much like when Yimi Garcia got called for one.
Yeah. It goes down to the books as a balk officially, but I think you're right. It wasn't like a movement thing necessarily or a set. Hammered to deep left field. If it's fair, it's gone. And Travis d'Arnaud just missed. My goodness.
He almost set the record by a lot.
Oh, by a wide mark. He might have put out a window here at Minute Maid Park. He already banged one off the metal yesterday to make some noise. He and Dansby Swanson. Wow.
He's hoping for it, but there's some Carlton Fisk.
Towards left center field, coming on is Brinson, and he makes a great catch to end the inning. Nice play, Lewis Brinson. Keeps the Braves off the board in the top half of the 8th inning. d'Arnaud a little shy of history in that frame and shy of a hit because of Brinson's excellent defense. LDS presented by Doosan on FS1. 7-0 Braves on top. They're 6 outs away from their first trip to the NLCS in nearly 2 decades. And it'll be a playoff debut for Jacob Webb, pitching for the first time since September the 26th. Really good in the regular season. I mean, spotless in the regular season.
And another young, good arm coming out of the pen here for the Braves. Fastball changeup mainly for Jacob Webb. High octane again, 94, 95. Everyone throws 94, 95
Sure.
these days.
Facing the top of the Marlins order in Birdie. And it feels like everybody's making playoff debuts too. All these players, you know, the Miami Marlins had what, something like 20 players make a major league debut this year. Just with the situations the way they were with COVID, with the shortened season, with the alternate training sites. Ton of players made major league debuts this year. And maybe, I mean, Wayno, you were right in the middle of it with one of the teams that dealt with it maybe more than anybody else in baseball. You and your team and the Marlins, the Cardinals and Marlins, dealt with it a ton this year.
Yeah, we had 11 doubleheaders. They had 7, something like that,
7 doubleheaders. Yep.
And I can tell you that takes a lot out of it. It takes a lot of people stepping up. It takes a lot of people who maybe might not have been given their first chance at the big leagues just yet to come up and be impact players for you. And we had all kinds of guys come up just like the Marlins have, to make real impactful swings and pitches and pitch in big moments and get guys out that, you know, they never would have thought they were going to get a chance to do.
Birdie goes down swinging. So many players through the Marlins system this year. You saw that graphic, how many pitchers and position players they used. And they did it with a lot of impressive maneuvering. Look at these trades. Stanton, Ozuna, Yelich, Realmuto. And again, this is a Marlins organization that for 20 years has been looked at as, oh, they won. All right, time for the fire sale, right? And that's been a trend, it felt like, for a long time. But the pieces that they got back have all been very important. You see Zach Gallen they got in the Ozuna deal. They shipped him off and ended up getting Jazz Chisholm, who started today for the Marlins in a playoff game. Like, those moves had major impact, and that's what you hope for when you make moves like the Marlins have made. So credit to the organization. They're in good standing maybe going forward.
Derek Jeter we showed, Michael Hill, they're another baseball ops guy. They've made the right moves. For years, like you said, they were let's throw it together, win, and then destroy it. Well, Derek Jeter right there, he's in it for the long haul, and Derek Jeter's not used to losing, so he's going to do what it takes, and he's going to get there. It's going to take some work, but they're on the right path. They have young prospects. They have young arms. They have position players coming. Just a really good job so far for the Marlins.
1-1 on Dickerson, who slaps it the other way for a base hit. He was a guy who was brought in and has found a nice home in Miami. Tom Verducci, give us a little bit more of a big picture, 30,000-foot view of this Marlins organization.
Well, the phrase changing the culture tends to be overused in sports, but it applies to the Marlins, and it goes much farther down from just this big league level. I'll give you an example. 2018 was the first spring training of the CEO Derek Jeter-led Marlins, and that was Pablo Lopez's first spring with the Marlins. He was acquired from the Seattle system after 5 years there. Pablo noticed right away that the players were running from the clubhouse to the practice field, and when they were done, from the practice field to the clubhouse. That caught his attention, and I'll tell you where it comes from. In 1995, Derek Jeter's first spring training with the Yankees, he was on a backfield in Fort Lauderdale with Don Mattingly. The team was on the road. There was literally nobody in the stands, and as they worked their way back across the main diamond from a backfield, Don Mattingly turned to Derek Jeter and said, "We better run." And Jeter said, "But there's nobody here." And Don Mattingly said, "But you never know who's watching." Of course, that was a reference to the late Yankees owner George Steinbrenner.
Right.
And that is the attitude that Derek Jeter and Don Mattingly have brought to this team. You're seeing the Marlins in the postseason, but you're seeing the result of something that began a few years ago at the lowest levels in this system.
A real build by Jeter and Don Mattingly. Bruce Sherman we mentioned earlier. Aguilar pops it up to Albies. We may have discussed this a little bit, Wayno, but to tag on to what Tom was talking about, what to you makes a winning culture? You come from it. What makes it?
Well, anybody can do things right when everybody's watching. But one of the key things about winning organizations and winning traditions is who are you and what are you going to do when nobody's watching.
Sure.
And so that was a great lesson. I was just saying amen over and over again when Tom was telling that story about Jeter and Mattingly, because there's ways to do things correctly even when nobody's watching that you know of. But you know, young guys, when I was a young guy coming up, you sponge off those older players, those veteran players. They're setting the example.
Brian Anderson sends one to deep left field, backing towards the wall, and it's run down by Duvall. Another scoreless frame tossed up by this Atlanta Braves pitching staff. 8 shutout innings, a 7-0 lead, 3 outs away. Another postseason debut, this one for Nick Vincent, the 34-year-old from California. He'll miss to Ozzie Albies. This after Jacob Webb just made his Major League postseason debut at 27 years of age, then tossed a scoreless inning. He's pumped up in the dugout. That's awesome. Very cool for Nick Vincent to have his chance too. It's got to be awesome. This guy is 34 years of age, a lot of minor league innings. He's been in the big league since 2012 with the San Diego Padres. This is his 5th different major league team, and he finally gets an opportunity to pitch in the postseason. I know it's 7-0. I know Marlins are on the verge of being eliminated, but just an awesome moment for this individual here.
This guy's got a nasty cutter.
Yeah. Gets a lot of fly balls.
The shot we just showed, the great shot by our crew that we showed of Webb, that pretty much sums up the Atlanta Braves feelings right now.
Fair play.
And all of Wayno's Braves friends.
Pumped up for a spot in the NLCS. Into the shift, Albies is retired by Chisholm. There's one down. Do you remember your postseason debuts?
I remember mine.
Where was it?
Oakland. Got 4 hits. Not bad.
Not bad.
That's why I remember it.
That's a nice little, another nice flex by AJ today.
We talked about, remember we talked about Moneyball earlier and Billy Bean, and in 2002 when the Twins made it, they had the big 3 and we eliminated them at the end of the movie. If you watch the movie,
sure,
the Twins are celebrating. They didn't pay me. They paid some actor to play me.
Did you ever get to meet the actor or like contact the actor?
No, I should. If he's listening, call me.
Yeah, hit up AJ. I'll send, DM me. I'll give you a cell. Here's Swanson.
It was amazing about that movie. It was all about on-base percentage and getting the right guys in there. You had 3 of the best starting pitchers in baseball.
Yeah,
maybe 4 or 5 actually. If you
Mulder,
look at the
Hudson, Zito.
Yep.
Then you had Koch at the end.
Yeah, and wasn't it like Aaron Harang was there and somebody else too, or was that
Gil Heredia? They had
Corey Lytle that year.
Let's not forget they had Miguel Tejada, who was the MVP. Eric Chavez pretty good. I mean, they had a really good team. And
Yep.
Scott Hatteberg was the star of
That's
the movie.
right. Yeah.
Also that year we ended the 20-game winning streak. They didn't show
that was
either.
that was you. Yeah,
that was
you
also
guys.
our Twins team.
I
02.
cannot even imagine winning 20 straight games.
That's wild, right? 2002 ALDS. AJ made his playoff debut. 1-1 to Swanson. In the air, well struck. Dickerson over towards the corner and can't make the catch. Dansby Swanson around second, on his way to third as that ball's rolling down the line, and Swanson slides into third. Well, what a big series for Dansby Swanson. A lot of extra base hits.
I mean, that was a ball that went 310 feet and almost went out of the ballpark.
Short porch, right?
I think it went higher than it went far, and he just clips this a little bit out front. Good hustle by him to get to third. Dickerson gives it the old college try. And chases on.
Triple for Swanson. That'll bring up Adam Duvall, who has fanned 3 times and has doubled home a run. Wayno, your debut was in 2006 in the postseason. You were working out of the pen. Obviously, you had
San
that great
Diego.
moment in the NLCS against the Mets in Game 7 in Beltron. But take me back to the NLDS, that first time you were out there for a playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, it was the thing I remember most about the NLDS was being, you know, the underdog in that series, pitching, facing Jake Peavy against Chris Carpenter Game 1. We came in and shut him out Game 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Duvall pops it up.
But last out of the NLDS game what was that, Game 4, I think, was Dave Roberts, manager of the Dodgers. So that was really cool for me, because the year before I was the last guy on the whole team that was ever going to get an outing, and they sent me home for the playoffs. I was the only one that got sent home for the playoffs.
Wow.
So a lot of things can happen in one year.
And that was an interesting Padres team in 06. Mike Piazza was on that team. Adrian Gonzalez, Josh Barfield, Khalil Green. In the center, Dave Roberts, Mike Cameron, Brian Giles was the outfield most of the year that year for San Diego.
That's a good team.
Very good team.
Remember how slick Khalil Green was at short too?
Well, you started, I'm just looking at your line. You started your postseason career not being charged with a run in 9 appearances in your first go at it. So pretty solid, bud. Nothing in 2 on Markakis. The runner at third and Swanson and 2 out. Nick Vincent in his playoff debut. Marlins in the 9th will have Cooper, Chisholm, and Rojas. And they'll be on the way up. The Atlanta Braves 3 outs away for their first National League Championship Series appearance in 19 years. Jacob Webb's fired up. They're 3 outs away. Presented by Han Cook Tire. Wayno, talk to me about what you saw from Kyle Wright today in his playoff debut.
Well, like we said, he didn't necessarily get ahead in the count like, you know, you would want to do, but he made pitches when he needed to. He had guys on base several times, and he made all the big pitches when he needed to. He had a nasty changeup working. He worked that fastball at the top of the zone really well, threw some really good sliders when he needed to. Worked that slower breaking ball a couple times. I was impressed. He had a great showing for his team when they needed it the most.
And it'll be Shane Green to try to get the final 3 outs for the Atlanta Braves in this National League Division Series. He'll face Garrett Cooper to start off the bottom of the 9th inning. Christian Pache is in right field as well for the Atlanta Braves. And a strike on Cooper. Seen some debuts. We've seen some impressive offense from maybe some unexpected sources. It's been a fun 3 games in this NLDS. And again, thankful to have our entire fantastic crew with us here in Houston, Texas. We know we appreciate you as well. Obviously, had the chance to bring your wife to Houston as well. Enjoy this experience. Hope you enjoyed us. Hope AJ and I didn't give you too hard of a time. Hopefully we get you back at some point. And certainly appreciate your contributions this week, man. It was a blast.
Well, I had a great time. Having a great time. Still going on. I'm having a great time. And want to thank y'all and Fox for the opportunity to come out here and do this. I've been wanting to do it for a couple years now, and thanks for inviting me. You know, I'm having a great time. I'm getting to talk baseball, which is one of my passions in the world, so it's really cool. But a lot of people have made sacrifices for me to be able to play this year and to do this. I got 5 kids at home: Bailey, Morgan, and Macy, Sadie, and Caleb. Thank you all for letting me come home for a day and then turn right around and leave again for another week. But I love y'all so much, and Daddy's almost home, so appreciate my wife putting up with me for a whole year. It goes without saying, but my family quarantined with me the whole year so that I could play baseball. Yep. My kids didn't go to summer camp, didn't play summer or fall sports. So I really appreciate it. You know, it makes me feel loved. And lots of people, friends and family at home, have been giving me encouraging texts saying, you know, you sounding all right. Not too bad for a South Georgia boy. So appreciate all the fans and family and friends that have texted me and encouraged me along the way.
Well, we appreciate having you. And again, I wanted you to mention that because I hope people don't forget about the sacrifices that the players' families and the coaches' families made. I mean, there was a time we didn't think we would even get to the playoffs. You know, out of the gate, there were some rough moments, including these Miami Marlins, who got a lot of flack, some of it proper and some of it maybe unfair, about what happened when they had their quarantine and COVID issues. But the sacrifices that families across baseball made, partners and wives and kids, let's not forget about everybody on the periphery that has had to make a contribution to make this work. So we appreciate that too. 3-2 on Cooper, and he's still alive.
This whole world's had to have a weird year, right? Like, we've all had to make adjustments, and all these players, they love the game. They're playing this game. They love the game. They want to compete, but they're also playing because they love their fans. And we wanted to go out there and bring some enjoyment to guys' lives this year. And these teams right now, hopefully there's a big Miami Marlins fan base and a big Atlanta Braves fan base that are really smiling about what's going on right now.
Cooper fouls it back. AJ and I spent a lot of time together across the country. I was in Chicago most of the year. AJ was in Orlando, and this game connected us, and certainly thankful for it. Not to get too deep into the weeds of this soliloquy.
Well,
I just really appreciate it.
I was touched by what Adam said. The difference is I was stuck at home for 7 months. So he's like, thank you for letting meanwhile, my family was like, thank you, Fox, for letting him leave the house.
Getting AJ out of the house.
Like I said, yin and yang. Here we go.
Cooper breaks his bat, lines it to Swanson for out number 1 here in the 9th inning. And of course, we got more playoff baseball, folks. We were very grateful to be here and watch this series. We got way more coming up. Don't go anywhere. A's and Astros in a tight one right now on TBS with our buddies Rays and Yankees. Rays looking to move on to the ALCS. Dodgers and Padres on MLB Network tonight. These are going to be awesome championship series as you see some of the Braves family, and they were allowed to come in. A lot of families were allowed to start to come into the bubble, so to speak, whether in Texas or California. So I know these players and coaches are really happy to have their partners and kids here. That's a big deal after such a long season. Here's Chisholm. Now let's kind of spin it forward for these Braves. Not a lot of holes, at least based on what we've seen in 5 playoff games so far.
They're going to get a test. Whoever they get out of the NL West, whether it's LA or San Diego, it's definitely going to be a step up in competition from what they've seen. And nothing to take away from the Marlins. They had a tremendous year. The Reds, tremendous pitching. Their offense wasn't great all year, but you start getting Dodgers, Padres, the 2 best records in the National League. It's a step up. It's going to be a fun championship series, whoever it is. And it's going to be tough to bet against the Braves because of the way their pitchers perform, but it's going to be a fun series.
The lineup depth is going to get a lot different, it feels like, compared to the first 2 series.
But the Braves have faced a lot of really tough pitching during the season as well.
Sure.
They're facing DeGrom and Wheeler and all those really tough pitchers from around the NL East. I mean, you know, they faced these guys all year too. I mean, there's a lot of big arms that they put down so far.
They actually did better against all three of the other teams in the NL East in terms of team OPS against the Nationals and the Phillies and the Mets than they did against the Marlins. Ironically, and that's with a 29-run game that they had earlier in September.
They beat the reigning world champ.
Yep.
National with Max Scherzer on the mound. I mean, he was going to text me if I didn't say his name and those great pitchers' names. But
sure.
They've overcome some tough pitching, you know, and they beat a tough, or they're beating, I shouldn't say that, they're beating a tough Marlins team right now. But like AJ said, they're going to get a battle next round.
I mean, it wasn't easy in those first two games against Cincinnati either. Let's give them credit. Trevor Bauer was outstanding. Castillo was really sharp. It took that game winner from Freeman in the 13th in game 1. They got after it late in game 2.
That Reds team could have been dangerous if they got past the Braves. You never know with pitching like that. You never know what's going to happen.
Would have been an interesting series if it was Cincinnati and Miami. 3-2. Chisholm squares one up and sends it to deep left field. Duvall is back at the wall, and it is going to be in play. A double for Jazz Chisholm. He just missed out on a postseason home run as he laughs with Albies about it. Good for Jazz Chisholm as he has his first playoff hit.
That ball's about a foot to the left. It's a home run.
Yeah.
You don't see a ball often miss the Crawford boxes here in Houston. But this ball actually hits the side.
Wow. What an angle
seen.
that was. Massade in there.
Hits the side of the wall.
They're just going to take it out.
They may take a look here just to see if maybe it was a home run. It didn't look like it on the replay. It did look like it just dropped below that kind of angled wall. Yeah, there it is. Great shot by our crew. That kind of railing fence area right there.
That may be the closest I've ever seen.
I agree with that. That's about as close as you can get. It like shaved off the side of it. Home run under review. For the time being, it's a double, and it did look like it was below the line.
That ball's 4 inches to the left or the right.
Absolutely. Wow. Just missed it. Safe at second. It's a double for Jazz Chisholm. He had a home run and a triple against the Braves earlier this year in the regular season.
So if the Marlins score this run here, Waino, is this a moral victory for next year?
Absolutely. Never stop fighting, baby. Never stop fighting.
Coming up, tonight's NLDS postgame show on FS1 is sponsored by Tubi. Get A-Rod, Big Papi, and the Big Hurt with our man KB. We'll have some exclusive interviews for you as well. The Braves are 2 outs away from clinching a spot in the NLCS, but the Marlins have a man in scoring position for the first time since the 3rd inning when they had the bases loaded against Kyle Wright. There's Rojas.
I'd still be in that dugout over there going, all right, we got a guy on. Here we go. We could do this. We could run through this a little bit. A couple knocks here, a couple knocks there. Maybe more than a couple, but
might need more. Might need a few, but
eternal optimist.
Eternal optimism.
Absolutely.
I love it. I've never felt more balanced in a broadcast booth in my life. Well, Miguel Rojas, while we have a moment, we should probably remember to point out that in this wild, topsy-turvy, up and down Marlins season, this is the man at the center of it. Miguel Rojas, the heart and soul of this Miami Marlins team.
he was a real leader during that pandemic, wasn't he? During that time off, I should say.
Yeah. "31 years of age, the longest tenured player on this team, Adam."
That was a crazy time, you know, where all the pitchers were throwing in a net in their yard, and hitters were hitting balls off a tee into a net or whatever they were having to do to try to keep going so that they could be ready after spring training.
2 strikes on Rojas from Shane Green. Acuna and Pache coming over. It'll be Christian to make the catch. And the Atlanta Braves are 1 out away from a trip to the National League Championship Series. Last time they were in the NLCS, 2001. They had to sweep the Houston Astros. They won twice at Enron Field here in Houston before going back to Old Turner Field and clinching the series. Bobby Cox and Chipper Jones and that incredible Hall of Fame staff with Maddox and Glavine and John Smoltz closing things out. Got to the championship series that year. Of course, that was the year that the Diamondbacks would take them down, led by Randy Johnson on their staff, and would end up in the World Series beating the Yankees. Here's Matt Joyce off the bench to hit in the 8th spot. Last chance for the Marlins. One-0. Ooh, Darno took a little bit of a spill there. And tripped up on the equipment.
I think he took a foul ball, and last thing on earth the Braves want to see is him take a foul ball off the old foot.
Oh, powerful enough to actually disrupt the placement of that strap. Knock the strap off of his cleat.
Catchers are tough, man. I'll tell you. I
Better
give you some
believe it.
credit,
You
AJ.
better believe
Catchers are tough. They put up with a lot of junk.
And we got to put up with pitchers.
Down
That
to
was
the
the
final,
alley-oop right there.
down to the final out, Wado. Down to the final out. AJ plays all 9 innings. 1-1. Hammered to right. Pache is over, and he makes the catch. And for the first time in 19 years, the Atlanta Braves have punched their ticket to the National League Championship Series. What a performance by Swanson and Darno in particular. And the Atlanta Braves advance to baseball's Final Four. They'll await the Dodgers or the Padres. As dominant of a pitching performance through 2 series as we have seen in baseball history. 49 innings tossed by Braves pitching in the postseason. 3 innings they've allowed a run in those 49. Incredible. And they have moved on. They'll be up I-45 in Arlington, Texas, awaiting the winner of the Dodgers and the Padres. Impressive.
What a showing by the Atlanta Braves. Great year for the Miami Marlins, but what a showing by the Braves, and they deserve to move on, and they got there in a great situation.
A handshake and a hug from my guys AJ Pierzynski and Adam Wainwright, the World Series champions. Outstanding work as always by Tom Verducci. He'll have some content for you in our post-game show as well. For the great women and men of our crew here in Houston, Texas, Adam Amin, proud and privileged to be a part of this. Let's get you back to the studio and Kevin Burkhardt. The Braves are moving on.